The conference room fell silent as Serena Blake's heels clicked against marble. Her finger pointed at the man who'd slipped in late, his work shirt wrinkled, his eyes apologetic. "You're fired! Get out!" The words came without hesitation, without mercy. Caleb Rowe didn't argue. He just nodded once, picked up his backpack, and walked toward the door while 30 executives watched. Nobody knew that in 6 hours, this fired janitor would save her daughter's life. Nobody knew that Serena Blake's perfect world was about to crack wide open. If you want to see how far wrong assumptions can go, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The Chicago skyline cut sharp against a November sky that couldn't decide between snow and rain. 32 floors up, Serena Blake stood at the head of a conference table that cost more than most people's cars, and she was pissed. "We're losing market share in the Midwest because someone didn't do their job." Her voice was cold, controlled. The kind of cold that made junior executives check their phones under the table, praying she wasn't talking about them. "I don't accept excuses. I don't accept almost. I accept results." She was 30 years old, and she'd clawed her way to CEO in an industry that still thought women belonged in support roles. She'd done it by being harder, sharper, faster than anyone else, by never blinking first, by treating sentiment like a disease. The presentation on the screen behind her showed quarterly projections in red. Red meant blood in the water. Red meant someone was going to pay. "Denise, walk me through the distribution delays." Denise Chen, VP of Operations, stood up with the careful movements of someone approaching a wild animal. "We had some supply chain issues and I didn't ask for context, I asked for an explanation. The warehouse in Gary had staffing problems. 3 people quit in 1 week, and so hire better people. That's your job." Denise's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Serena scanned the room. 28 people, all of them paid 6 figures or more to make her company run like a machine. Half of them were looking at their laptops. The other half were looking at the table. "Eyes up here," she said quietly. Head snapped up. "When I'm talking, you're listening. When you're in this room, you're working. I don't care if your house is on fire. I don't care if—" The door opened. Every head turned. Serena's words died in her throat, replaced by something hotter. Caleb Rowe stepped inside, and he knew immediately that he'd made a terrible mistake. He was wearing navy work pants and a shirt with Blake Industries Building Services embroidered on the pocket. His steel-toed boots were clean but worn. He had a backpack over one shoulder, and he was breathing hard like he'd been running. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice quiet. "I didn't realize—" "Close the door." Serena's words could have frozen water. Caleb hesitated, then pulled the door shut behind him. The click echoed. "You're in building services," Serena said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am. Caleb Rowe. I was called up to check the— You're 20 minutes late to a meeting you were specifically told to attend." "I know, I apologize. I don't want to hear it." Serena took 3 steps toward him. In her heels, she was almost his height. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you know what this meeting is about?" Caleb's eyes flicked to the screen, to the financial projections, to the room full of people in suits who were all staring at him like he'd just tracked mud across a white carpet. "I was told we were discussing building security upgrades," he said carefully. "New camera installations on floors 12 through— That was supposed to happen 40 minutes ago. We moved on." "I understand. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't cut it." Serena crossed her arms. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who doesn't respect other people's time. I see someone who thinks the rules don't apply to him. I see someone who makes excuses instead of making things work." Caleb's jaw tightened. There was something in his eyes, not anger exactly, but something tired and deep. "I don't make excuses," he said quietly. "Really? Because you just started to give me one before I cut you off." "You're right, I apologize." Marcus Webb, the CFO, cleared his throat. "Serena, maybe we could just reschedule the security discussion for—" "No." She didn't even look at Marcus. Her eyes stayed locked on Caleb. "I want everyone in this room to understand something. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or the guy who changes the light bulbs. If you can't show up on time, if you can't do your job, you're out. That's how we maintain standards." "Understood," Caleb said. His voice was steady, but something in his posture had shifted, like he was bracing for impact. "You're fired." The words landed like a gunshot. Nobody moved. Somewhere in the building, a phone rang. Outside the window, a plane drew a white line across the gray sky. Caleb didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't even look surprised. He just nodded once. "Okay," he said. "HR will process your final check. You can pick it up on Monday." "Okay." "Leave your building access card and any keys with security on your way out." "Okay." Serena waited for more. Waited for him to crack, to make a scene, to give her an excuse to call security. That's what usually happened when she fired someone in front of an audience. They either broke down or they got angry. Caleb did neither. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a key card and 2 physical keys on a ring, and set them on the corner of the conference table. "Thank you for the opportunity," he said. Then he turned toward the door. "Wait." He stopped, his hand on the handle. Serena stepped closer. "I want you to understand why this happened. It's not personal. It's about accountability, about maintaining a culture where everyone performs at the highest level." Caleb turned back. His eyes met hers, and for just a second she saw something in them that made her chest tighten. Not fear, not resentment, pity. Then it was gone. "I understand," he said. "Have a good day, ma'am." He opened the door and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The room stayed silent. Serena turned back to face her executive team. Her face was calm, composed, but inside she felt something uncomfortable, something she didn't want to name. "Let that be a lesson," she said. "Standards apply to everyone. Now." "Where were we?" Denise Chen raised her hand slightly. "The Midwest distribution delays." "Right, continue." As Denise started talking again, Serena noticed Marcus watching her. There was something in his expression, disapproval maybe, or concern. She ignored it. She didn't run this company by committee or by consensus. She ran it by making hard calls and standing behind them, even when they felt wrong. Hoist. Caleb Rowe took the elevator down alone. His reflection stared back at him from the polished steel doors. Tired eyes, a jaw that needed a shave, shoulders that carried weight nobody asked about. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Mia's school. Reminder. Parent-teacher conference. Thursday, 3 p.m. Please confirm. He typed back quickly. Confirmed. See you then. The elevator opened on the ground floor. The lobby of Blake Industries was all glass and steel and expensive art that nobody really looked at. Caleb walked past the security desk where Tommy Chen, no relation to Denise, was working the morning shift. "Hey, Caleb, heading out early?" "Something like that." Caleb set his key card and keys on the counter. "I'm done." Tommy frowned. Done? Or just done for the day?" Done. "Shit, man. What happened?" "Showed up late to the wrong meeting." "Blake?" Caleb nodded. Tommy winced. "Yeah. She doesn't mess around." "No, she doesn't." "You okay?" "I'll figure it out." Caleb adjusted his backpack. "You take care of yourself, Tommy." "You too, brother." The November air hit Caleb's face like a slap. Cold but not freezing yet. Chicago in November was a threat that hadn't made good on its promise. The real cold would come later. He walked 6 blocks to the L station, paid for a ticket with quarters, and waited on the platform with a dozen other people who all looked like they'd rather be somewhere else. His phone buzzed again. "Mia, did you remember snack day tomorrow?" Caleb. "Already bought the crackers and cheese. They're in the fridge." Mia. "You're the best dad ever." Caleb. "Debatable, but I try." Mia. "Love you." Caleb. "Love you too, kiddo." The train came rattling into the station, screeching metal on metal. Caleb found a seat in the corner and pulled out a worn paperback, Lonesome Dove, which he'd read maybe 5 times but kept coming back to. Something about stories where people just did what needed doing without a lot of drama or fuss. 25 minutes later, he got off in Rogers Park and walked 4 blocks to a gray apartment building with bars on the first-floor windows. His apartment was on the 3rd floor, facing the alley. 1 bedroom for Mia, a pull-out couch in the living room for him. He unlocked 3 deadbolts and stepped inside. The apartment was clean but worn. The furniture was mostly second-hand. The TV was old enough that it still had a DVD player built in. But there were framed pictures on every available surface. Mia at her school play, Mia at the beach, Mia missing her 2 front teeth, Mia holding a trophy from soccer, and one picture of a woman with dark hair and kind eyes, holding a baby wrapped in yellow. Caleb looked at that picture for a long time. "Well, Grace," he said quietly, "I screwed up again." The picture didn't answer. It never did. He set his backpack down, pulled out his phone, and started scrolling through job sites. Building services, maintenance, night security. Anything with steady hours that would let him be home before dark. Anything that wouldn't ask too many questions about gaps in his resume or why a guy with his background was changing light bulbs for a living. An hour passed, then 2. His phone rang. The caller ID said Mia's school. His stomach dropped. "This is Caleb Rowe." "Mr. Rowe, this is Principal Hendricks at Lakeside Elementary. There's been an incident involving Mia. She's safe, but we need you to come down to the school right away." "What kind of incident?" "I'd rather discuss it in person. How soon can you get here?" Caleb was already grabbing his jacket. 15 minutes. "We'll be waiting." Checked. Serena Blake's afternoon was back-to-back meetings. Budget review at 2, legal at 3:15, marketing at 4:30. She moved through them like a shark through water, efficient, predatory, always 3 steps ahead. By 6 o'clock, she was back in her office, looking at spreadsheets that blurred together if she stared too long. Her assistant, Kelly, knocked once and stuck her head in. "Your ex-husband called, again." "Tell him to talk to my lawyer." "I did. He said it's about Ava." Serena's fingers paused on the keyboard. "What about her?" "He didn't say. Just that you should call him." "Fine. Anything else?" "Marcus wants 5 minutes." "Tell him I'm busy." "I already did. He said it's important." Serena sighed. "Send him in." Kelly disappeared. 30 seconds later, Marcus Webb walked in looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. "Make it quick," Serena said without looking up. Marcus closed the door behind him. "We need to talk about this morning. I'm not rehashing personnel decisions. You fired a guy in front of the entire leadership team because he was 20 minutes late. He was unreliable. I made a decision. You made an example." Now Serena looked up. "Is there a difference?" Marcus sat down without being invited. "Do you even know why he was late?" "I don't care why he was late." "Maybe you should." Marcus? Serena leaned back in her chair. "You're my CFO. You're good at your job, but you don't get to tell me how to run my company." "I'm not. I'm telling you how to treat people." "I treat people fairly. Everyone gets the same standards. Everyone. Fairness isn't the same as justice." That sounds like something from a motivational poster. Marcus stood up. "You want to know what I think? I think you're scared." "Excuse me?" "I think you're scared that if you show any weakness, any compassion, people will see you as soft, so you overcompensate. You come down twice as hard as you need to, and eventually you're going to lose good people because they don't want to work for someone who treats them like machines." Serena's voice went very quiet. "Get out." "Serena, get out of my office, now." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head and left, closing the door behind him with just a little too much force. Serena sat alone in the silence. Outside her window, the city lights were starting to come on. Chicago at dusk looked almost beautiful if you didn't think too hard about what was happening in the streets below. Her phone rang. Ex-husband. She almost didn't answer, but he'd called 3 times, and if it was about Ava... "What is it, Derek? Nice to hear your voice, too." "I'm busy. What do you want?" "Ava's been asking about Thanksgiving. I told her we'd figure out the schedule, but she wants to know if you're coming to my parents' place or if I'm bringing her to yours." "We settled this in the custody agreement. Thanksgiving with you, Christmas with me." "I know what the agreement says. I'm telling you what our daughter wants." "Our daughter is 8 years old. She doesn't get to dictate the schedule." "Jesus, Serena, would it kill you to be flexible once in a while? Would it kill you to follow the agreement we both signed?" Derek sighed, long and tired. "This is exactly why we didn't work." "No, we didn't work because you slept with your paralegal." "I didn't call to fight." "Then why did you call?" "To remind you that Ava has a school event tomorrow, 3 o'clock. She wants both of us there." Serena pulled up her calendar. She had a vendor meeting at 2:30 that would run long. I can't make it. Of course you can't. Derek, forget it. I'll tell her you're busy. She's used to it. He hung up before she could respond. Serena set the phone down and stared at the spreadsheets on her screen. The numbers didn't make sense anymore. They just looked like rows of accusations. She picked up her office phone and dialed. Kelly, clear my schedule tomorrow from 2 to 4. The vendor meeting? Reschedule it. I have something I need to do. Tag. Caleb sat in Principal Hendricks's office at Lakeside Elementary, listening to his daughter explain what happened and feeling something cold settle in his chest. There was a man by the playground, Mia said. She was sitting next to him in a chair that was too big for her, swinging her legs. He kept asking kids if we wanted candy. What did you do? Caleb asked quietly. I remembered what you said about strangers, so I didn't talk to him. But then Jenny's little brother started walking toward him, and I told him not to, and the man got mad. Principal Hendricks cut in. We've already filed a police report. The man left before we could get a clear description, but we're increasing security during pickup and drop-off. What did he look like? Caleb asked Mia. Tall. He had a blue jacket and a tattoo on his neck. What kind of tattoo? Mia thought about it. Like a snake, maybe? Or a dragon? Caleb looked at Principal Hendricks. I want to see the security footage. The police already have it, but Mr. Rowe, I should mention, Mia wasn't in any danger. She handled the situation exactly right. We just wanted you to be aware. I appreciate that. Caleb put his hand on Mia's shoulder. You did good, kiddo. I was scared, Mia admitted. That's okay. Being scared doesn't mean you didn't do the right thing. They walked out to the car together. Caleb drove a 15-year-old Honda Civic that burned oil and made weird noises when he turned left, but it got them where they needed to go. Dad? Yeah? Are you mad? At you? Never. You look mad. Caleb glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She was watching him with those big brown eyes that looked just like her mother's. I'm not mad, he said carefully. I'm worried. That's different. Worried about what? About keeping you safe. I'm always safe. You taught me good. Well. What? You taught me well, not good. Mia giggled. You sound like Mrs. Patterson. Your teacher's right. Grammar matters. They stopped at a red light. An ambulance went by, sirens wailing, and Caleb's hands tightened on the wheel, just for a second, just long enough for the sound to drag him back to places he tried not to think about. Dad? I'm here. What are we having for dinner? What do you want? Pancakes. Breakfast for dinner? It's the best kind of dinner. Caleb smiled despite everything. Pancakes it is. Back. At 8 o'clock that evening, Serena was still in her office when her personal cell phone rang. The screen showed a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. This is Serena Blake? Ms. Blake, this is Officer Diana Martinez with the Chicago Police Department. I'm calling about your daughter, Ava. Everything else in the world stopped. What happened? Is she hurt? She's safe. She's at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, being checked out as a precaution. But there was an incident this afternoon near her school. What kind of incident? There was an attempted abduction. A man tried to grab her after school. She's okay, but we need you to come down to the hospital. Serena was already grabbing her coat. I'm on my way. Where's Derek? Her father? He's already here. Tell him I'm 10 minutes out. She ran to the elevator, hit the button 5 times, even though she knew it didn't make it come faster, and called her driver. Paul, I need you out front, right now. The ride to Northwestern Memorial took 12 minutes that felt like 12 hours. Serena sat in the back seat, her hands clenched together so tight her knuckles went white. She thought about Ava's smile, about the way she hummed when she was coloring, about the last thing she'd said to her daughter that morning. Hurry up, we're going to be late. Not I love you. Not have a good day. Just hurry up. The hospital's emergency entrance was bright and sterile and full of people having the worst day of their lives. Serena pushed through the doors and went straight to the desk. Ava Blake. She was brought in this afternoon. The nurse checked her computer. Room 4, through those doors, second on the left. Serena walked fast, her heels clicking on the linoleum. She pushed through the doors and saw Derek standing in the hallway, talking to a police officer. "Where is she?" Derek turned. His face was pale. "She's okay. The doctor's with her now." "What the hell happened?" Officer Martinez stepped forward. "Ms. Blake, I'm the one who called you. Why don't we step into the family waiting room and I can walk you through what we know?" "I want to see my daughter first." "Of course, but the doctor asked for a few minutes to complete the examination." Serena wanted to push past them, to see Ava with her own eyes, to confirm that her daughter was real and whole and breathing. But Derek put a hand on her arm. "She's okay," he said quietly. "I promise." So Serena followed Officer Martinez into a small room with uncomfortable chairs and a TV showing the news with the sound off. "What happened?" she asked again. Officer Martinez pulled out a notepad. According to multiple witnesses, Ava was walking from her after-school program to the pickup area where your ex-husband was waiting. A man approached her near the corner of Franklin and Erie. He grabbed her arm and tried to pull her toward a vehicle. Ava screamed. Several people intervened. "Who?" "A woman named Patricia Gordon, who teaches at the school, a UPS driver named James Chen, and a man named Caleb Rowe." The name hit Serena like cold water. "Caleb Rowe? Do you know him?" He works for my company." "Worked. I fired him this morning." Officer Martinez's eyebrows went up slightly, but she didn't comment. "Mr. Rowe was apparently in the area when he heard your daughter screaming. He ran toward the scene and physically confronted the assailant. There was a brief struggle. The assailant fled on foot. Mr. Rowe stayed with Ava until police and paramedics arrived. Where's he now? He's being treated for his injuries in another room." "What injuries?" "Cracked ribs, facial contusions, possible concussion. He refused transport initially, but the paramedics insisted." Derek spoke up. "He saved our daughter, Serena. That guy had Ava halfway to his car. If Caleb hadn't been there..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Serena sat down in one of the uncomfortable chairs. Her mind was racing, trying to put pieces together that didn't fit. "Can I see her now?" she asked. "Let me check." Officer Martinez stepped into the hallway. Derek sat down next to Serena. For a moment, they were just two scared parents, and all the history between them didn't matter. "She asked for you," Derek said quietly. "First thing she said to me, 'Where's Mom?' I should have been at the pickup." "You were working. You're always working." "Don't start." "I'm not. I'm just saying, but maybe this is a wake-up call." Serena looked at him. "A wake-up call for what?" "For figuring out what actually matters." Before she could answer, the door opened. A doctor in blue scrubs stepped in. "Mr. and Mrs. Blake, you can see Ava now." Ava was sitting up in a hospital bed that made her look even smaller than she was. Her blonde hair was messy, and there was a bandage on her elbow, but her eyes lit up when she saw Serena. "Mom!" Serena crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her daughter into a hug that was probably too tight, too desperate, but she couldn't help it. "I'm okay," Ava said, her voice muffled against Serena's shoulder. "Mom, I'm okay." I know, I'm here." Derek stood in the doorway, giving them space. When Serena finally pulled back, she ran her hands over Ava's face, her arms, checking for damage even though the doctor had already done that. "Does anything hurt?" "My elbow, but they put a cool bandage on it. See?" Ava held up her arm proudly. "Tell me what happened." Ava's face got serious. "I was walking to meet Daddy. This man came up and said he knew you. He said you sent him to pick me up because you were busy." Serena's throat tightened. "What did you do?" "I remembered what you said about strangers, so I said no, but then he grabbed my arm and tried to pull me, and I screamed really loud, like you taught me." "Good girl." "And then the man came." "What man?" "I don't know his name, but he was big and he looked really mad. He yelled at the bad man to let me go, and when the bad man didn't, he hit him, and they fought. And Ms. Gordon was there, and the UPS man, and everyone was yelling, and then the bad man ran away and the good man stayed with me. He asked if I was okay, and he told me I was brave, and he didn't leave until the police came." "What did he look like?" "The man who helped you. He had dark hair and kind eyes, and he was bleeding, but he said it was okay. He said..." Ava paused, remembering. "He said he has a little girl too, and he knows how scary it is when you're lost or hurt. And he told me jokes until the ambulance came. What kind of jokes? Dad jokes, like, what do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear, Ava giggled. He said his daughter always groans when he tells jokes, but secretly she thinks they're funny. Serena felt something crack open inside her chest. I want to thank him, she said. He's probably gone, Derek said. The cop said he gave his statement and left. But Serena was already standing up. She kissed Ava's forehead. I'll be right back, sweetheart. Stay with Dad. She went back out into the hallway and found Officer Martinez. Caleb Rowe, which room is he in? Room 11. But Miss Blake, he's been through quite a bit. Maybe you should wait until... Serena was already walking. Room 11 was at the end of the hall. The door was half open. Serena pushed it the rest of the way and stopped. Caleb was sitting on the edge of the bed, fully dressed except for his boots. A nurse was wrapping his ribs. His face was a mess. Split lip, bruise blooming across his left cheekbone, a cut above his eyebrow that had been butterfly bandaged closed. He looked up when she came in. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Caleb said very quietly, How's your daughter? She's fine. Thanks to you. He nodded once and winced at the movement. Good. That's good. The nurse stepped back. You're all set, Mr. Rowe, but seriously, if the pain gets worse or you have any trouble breathing, come back immediately. I will, thank you. The nurse left, pulling the door closed behind her. Serena and Caleb were alone. I owe you an apology, Serena said. You don't owe me anything. This morning, I was wrong. Caleb looked at her with those tired eyes. You weren't wrong. I was late. You were late because you were dealing with something at your daughter's school, weren't you? He didn't answer right away. Then, it doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? Caleb stood up slowly, carefully. This morning I was just another employee who screwed up. Now I'm the guy who saved your kid. But I'm the same person, so which version is real? Serena didn't have an answer. Caleb picked up his backpack from the chair. I'm glad Ava's okay. She's a good kid. Tough. Wait. Serena stepped forward. At least let me give you a ride home. I can take the train. With cracked ribs and a concussion? I've had worse. That's not the point. Caleb looked at her, really looked at her, and Serena saw something in his expression that made her feel small. The point is, you're trying to fix what happened this morning by being nice to me now. But I don't need you to be nice. I don't need your apology. I just need to get home to my daughter because she's probably freaking out wondering where I am. Then let me drive you, please. He studied her face for a long moment. Then he sighed. Okay. They didn't talk in the elevator. They didn't talk through the hospital lobby. Paul was waiting outside with the car, and he opened the door without being asked. Caleb slid into the back seat and gave Paul an address in Rogers Park. Serena got in beside him. As they pulled away from the hospital, Serena's phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Ava's asking for you. How long? She texted back, 10 minutes. Caleb was looking out the window, watching the city slide by. His reflection in the glass looked like a ghost. You have a daughter? Serena asked. Yeah. Mia. She's 7. Is her mother... She died 3 years ago. I'm sorry. Caleb shrugged, and the movement made him wince again. Cancer, ovarian. By the time they found it, it was everywhere. 6 months from diagnosis to the end. Serena didn't know what to say to that. What could anyone say? So it's just you and Mia? She asked. Yeah. That must be hard. It is what it is. They drove in silence for a while. Chicago at night was all lights and movement and people trying to get somewhere else. The car turned onto Lakeshore Drive and the water stretched out black and endless beside them. Can I ask you something? Serena said. Sure. This morning, when I fired you, you didn't argue. You didn't try to explain. Why? Caleb was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. Because I learned a long time ago that some people don't want to hear explanations. They've already made up their minds. So you can either waste your breath trying to change it, or you can just move on. That's pretty cynical. That's pretty accurate. So you just accept it? When someone treats you unfairly? I didn't say it was fair, I said it was what it is. Serena turned to look at him. You were late because of your daughter's school, weren't you? Something happened. Caleb's jaw tightened. Yeah. What happened? Some creep was hanging around the playground, trying to talk to kids. Mia was smart enough to stay away from him, but I had to go down there and make sure she was okay, and talk to the principal, and file a police report, and by the time I got to your building, I was 20 minutes late. So yeah, I was late. And you fired me. And that's how it goes. Serena felt something twist in her stomach. If you'd told me, would it have mattered? The question hung in the air between them. Would it have mattered? Serena wanted to say yes, wanted to believe she would have listened, would have understood. But she wasn't sure. This morning, in that conference room, with all those eyes on her, with her authority on the line, would she have cared why he was late? Or would she have seen it as just another excuse? The car pulled up in front of a tired-looking building in Rogers Park. Caleb reached for the door handle. Thank you for the ride, he said. Caleb. Serena put her hand on his arm. He looked down at it, then up at her face. I want to make this right. You can't. Let me try. Come back. I'll give you your job back. Better than your job. We have openings in security management, and I don't want your pity. It's not pity. Then what is it? Serena realized she didn't know. Guilt? Gratitude? Some desperate need to rewrite what happened this morning? I was wrong, she said finally. About you. About the situation. I made a snap judgment and I didn't give you a chance to explain. That's on me. But you saved my daughter's life today. You got hurt protecting her, so please, let me do something. Caleb pulled his arm away gently. Your daughter was in trouble and I helped. That's it. That's not a transaction. That's not something you owe me for. That's just what you do. When someone needs help, most people wouldn't have gotten involved. Then most people are cowards. He opened the door and climbed out carefully, one hand pressed to his ribs. Then he leaned back in. Take care of your kid, Ms. Blake. Hug her tight. Tell her you love her. Because you don't know how much time you've got. He closed the door before she could answer. Serena watched him walk into the building, moving like every step hurt. Then Paul pulled away from the curb and drove her back toward the hospital. Her phone buzzed again. Derek. Where are you? Serena. On my way. She leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. Amasit. Back at Northwestern Memorial, Ava had fallen asleep. Derek was sitting beside her bed, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when Serena came in. She crashed about 10 minutes ago. Adrenaline wore off. Serena sat down on the other side of the bed and took Ava's small hand in hers. The doctor said we can take her home in the morning, Derek continued. They just want to monitor her overnight. Standard procedure for trauma cases. I'm staying. Serena, you don't have to. I'm staying. Derek looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her face stopped him. Okay, I'll bring you some coffee. He left. Serena sat in the uncomfortable chair and watched her daughter sleep. Ava's face was peaceful, young, untouched by all the ugliness in the world. But that wouldn't last forever. Someday Ava would grow up. Someday she'd have to navigate a world that could be cruel and random and unfair. Someday she'd have to make hard choices and live with the consequences. And Serena didn't know how to protect her from any of it. Her phone buzzed. A work email. She ignored it. Another buzz. Another email. She turned the phone off. Outside the window, Chicago glittered like broken glass. Somewhere in that sprawl of light and shadow, Caleb Rowe was probably tucking his own daughter into bed, telling her everything was okay, holding her a little bit tighter than usual. Serena thought about what he'd said in the car. You don't know how much time you've got. She thought about this morning, about standing in front of her executive team, firing a man she didn't know, making an example out of someone whose story she'd never bothered to learn. She thought about Ava asking where she was, about Derek saying you're always working, about the vendor meeting she'd almost chosen over her daughter's school event. And for the first time in a very long time, Serena Blake wondered if she'd been building the wrong thing all along. Caleb woke up at 5:30 the next morning because his ribs were screaming and his head felt like someone had used it for batting practice. He lay on the pull-out couch in the dark, listening to the radiator clank and hiss, and tried to remember if he'd taken the painkillers the hospital gave him. The bottle was on the coffee table. Empty. He must have taken them before passing out. The memory was fuzzy. Everything after getting home was fuzzy. Checking on Mia, texting her babysitter Mrs. Chen to say he was back, collapsing onto the couch still half dressed. His phone said he had 4 missed calls, 3 from numbers he didn't recognize, 1 from Lakeside Elementary. He sat up slowly, every muscle protesting, and called the school back. Lakeside Elementary, this is Karen. Hi, this is Caleb Rowe. I had some missed calls. Oh, Mr. Rowe. Yes. Principal Hendricks wanted to speak with you about yesterday's incident. She has some follow-up information from the police. Can I come by this afternoon, after I drop Mia off? That would be perfect. Say 8:30? I'll be there. He hung up and checked the time. 6 o'clock. Mia's alarm would go off in 15 minutes. He needed to have breakfast ready, her lunch packed, her backpack by the door. The routine that kept both of them sane. He stood up and immediately regretted it. The room tilted. He grabbed the back of the couch and waited for the world to stop spinning. Dad? Mia was standing in the doorway of her bedroom, wearing her favorite pajamas, the ones with astronauts on them. Her hair was sticking up in 3 different directions. Hey kiddo, you're up early? I heard you get up. She walked over and looked at his face. Her eyes went wide. What happened to you? Caleb had forgotten about the bruises. I had a little accident yesterday. It looks worse than it is. Does it hurt? A little. A little like when I scraped my knee? Or a little like when you broke your finger fixing the sink? Caleb smiled despite the pain it caused his split lip. Somewhere in between. Mia reached up very carefully and touched the edge of the bruise on his cheek. You should put ice on it. You're right, I should. I'll get the ice. She ran to the kitchen and came back with a bag of frozen peas wrapped in a dish towel. Here, Mrs. Patterson says frozen vegetables work just as good as ice packs. Just as well. What? Just as well, not just as good. Mia rolled her eyes. You sound like you got hit in the head. I did get hit in the head. Oh. She looked worried now. Should we go to the doctor? I already went. They said I'm fine. Promise? Caleb pulled her into a gentle hug. Promise. Now go get dressed. We've got pancakes to make. You said we're having pancakes. I distinctly remember someone requesting breakfast for dinner last night, but we never got around to dinner, so technically we owe ourselves pancakes. Mia grinned and ran back to her room. Caleb went into the kitchen and started pulling out ingredients. Flour, eggs, milk, baking powder. The same things Grace used to make, following the same recipe she'd gotten from her grandmother. He'd watched her make pancakes 100 times before she got sick. After she died, he'd taught himself, burning batch after batch until he got it right. Because Mia needed pancakes. Mia needed normalcy. Mia needed a dad who could hold things together even when everything was falling apart. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Rowe, this is Officer Martinez. We spoke yesterday at the hospital. I remember. I wanted to follow up on a few things. Do you have a moment? Caleb wedged the phone between his ear and shoulder and started cracking eggs. Sure. First, I wanted to let you know we've identified the suspect. His name is Vincent Marrow. He has priors for attempted kidnapping in Indiana. There's a warrant out for his arrest. Good. We pulled security footage from businesses near the school. We have clear images of him approaching Ava Blake. We also have footage of your intervention. Caleb didn't say anything. He whisked the eggs harder than necessary. Mr. Rowe, you potentially saved that little girl's life. The department wants to recognize that. There's a commendation ceremony next month. I don't need a ceremony. Nevertheless, the community should know, Officer Martinez. Caleb set down the whisk. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I don't want any publicity. I don't want any attention. I just want this guy caught so he can't hurt anyone else. There was a pause. Can I ask why you're so opposed to recognition? Because it's not about me. It's about keeping kids safe. Another pause. Understood. I'll note that in the file. But Mr. Rowe, if we need you to testify when we catch this guy, I'll testify. Just call me when you need me. Thank you. And Mr. Rowe, you did good. So I've heard. He hung up and went back to making pancakes. Mia came out dressed for school, jeans, a purple sweater, sneakers that lit up when she walked. She climbed onto one of the kitchen stools and watched him cook. Dad? Yeah? Why were you at the hospital yesterday? Caleb flipped a pancake. I helped someone who was in trouble. What kind of trouble? A bad man tried to take a little girl. I stopped him. Mia's eyes got very big. Like the man at my school? Maybe. I don't know yet. Are you like a superhero? Caleb laughed, then winced because laughing hurt. No, kiddo. I'm just a guy who was in the right place at the right time. Superheroes always say that. Superheroes wear capes and fly. I can barely walk this morning. You could be a superhero who got beat up, like in the movies. Caleb slid a pancake onto her plate. Eat your breakfast, weirdo. She giggled and drowned the pancake in syrup. They ate together in comfortable silence. Outside, the sun was starting to come up, turning the November sky from black to gray to pale gold. Somewhere in the city, Serena Blake was probably waking up too. Probably already thinking about meetings and deals and whatever it was that CEOs thought about. Caleb wondered if she'd even remember him by next week. He dropped Mia off at school at 7:45, watching until she was safely inside the building. Then he drove back and met with Principal Hendricks in her office. Mr. Rowe, thank you for coming in. Principal Hendricks was a small woman with steel gray hair and the kind of eyes that had seen everything twice. I wanted to update you on the security measures we're implementing. I'm listening. We're adding 2 additional security officers during arrival and dismissal times. We're also installing new cameras at all entry points and along the perimeter fence, and we're conducting mandatory stranger danger assemblies for all grade levels. Good. The police also shared some information about the suspect, Vincent Marrow. According to their investigation, he's been targeting schools on the north side for the past 3 weeks. Lakeside was the 4th school where he was spotted. Caleb's jaw tightened. How many kids has he approached? That we know of? At least 7. But Mia was the only one who reported it immediately. Most of the other children didn't tell their parents until days later. She's smart. She is, and you should be very proud of how you've prepared her. Principal Hendricks folded her hands on her desk. Mr. Rowe, can I ask you something personal? You can ask. Yesterday, when you came to the school, you seemed experienced with this kind of situation. The way you asked questions, the way you assessed the threat. It reminded me of how law enforcement officers respond. Caleb didn't say anything. I'm not prying, she continued, but if you have any background that might be helpful to our security planning, I'd appreciate your input. He thought about it. Thought about all the things he didn't talk about. All the parts of his life he'd left behind when Grace died and everything got complicated. I was in the Army, he said finally. Medic. Did 3 tours. After that, I worked search and rescue for a couple of years. Then my wife got sick and I came home to take care of her. I see. I took the job at Blake Industries because it had regular hours and decent benefits. Nothing fancy, just something that let me be home for Mia. Principal Hendricks nodded slowly. And yesterday, when you heard about the man at our school, your training kicked in. Something like that. Well, for what it's worth, I'm grateful you were there. Both yesterday and the day before. Caleb stood up. If you need anything else, you have my number. Actually, Mr. Rowe, there is one more thing. He paused at the door. I know you're currently between jobs. If you're interested, we have an opening for a part-time security consultant. It's not much, maybe 10 hours a week, but it would involve reviewing our protocols and helping train staff. The hours would be flexible, and you could work around Mia's schedule. Caleb turned back. Why are you offering me this? Because you care, and because you know what you're doing, and because, frankly, I'd rather have someone like you on our team than someone who just needs a paycheck. He thought about his bank account, thought about the bills stacking up on his kitchen counter, thought about the fact that he had maybe 6 weeks before things got really tight. Can I think about it? Of course. But don't think too long. The position starts Monday. Across town, Serena was sitting in her office at Blake Industries, staring at a security file she'd requested from HR at 6 that morning. Employee, Caleb Michael Rowe. Position, Building Services Technician. Start date, March 2023. Supervisor, David Ortiz. Status, terminated. Below that were the standard fields. Education, work history, references. But it was the notes section that made her stop. Background check notes. Applicant has significant gaps in employment history, 2019 to 2022. References from previous employer, Mercy Hospital Trauma Unit, are excellent, but explain gap as personal family matter. Military service verified. U.S. Army, 68W Combat Medic Specialist, honorable discharge. Applicant requested position with standard daytime hours. No overtime, no travel. Took lower pay grade than qualified for. Serena read it 3 times. Combat Medic. Trauma Unit. Personal family matter. She pulled up his personnel file next. He'd been written up twice, both times for being 5 to 10 minutes late. His supervisor had noted, employee apologizes but does not provide explanations. Work quality excellent when present. She thought about yesterday, about the way he'd fought off a kidnapper with cracked ribs and a concussion, about the way he'd stayed with Ava, telling her jokes, keeping her calm, about the way he'd looked at Serena in the car and asked, would it have mattered? There was a knock on her door. Come in. Marcus Webb stepped inside, holding 2 cups of coffee. He set one on her desk without asking. You look like hell, he said. Good morning to you too. How's Ava? She's fine. Derek kept her home from school today, but the doctor said she's okay. Good. Marcus sat down. You want to tell me why you're reading personnel files at 7 in the morning? I'm working. You're obsessing. Serena closed the file. I need to find him. Who, Caleb Rowe? I need to talk to him, apologize properly, offer him something real. Marcus took a sip of his coffee. You already tried that. He turned you down. Because I did it wrong. I made it about guilt, about owing him. And now? Now I think I need to do it because it's the right thing to do. Marcus studied her face. You know what's interesting? I've worked with you for 3 years. I've seen you negotiate billion-dollar deals without blinking, but I've never seen you second-guess yourself like this. Maybe I should second-guess myself more often. Maybe, he set down his coffee. You want my advice? Do I have a choice? Leave him alone. Serena looked up sharply. What? The guy made it clear he doesn't want your charity. He doesn't want to be saved. He just wants to live his life and take care of his kid. So let him. I can't just... Yes, you can. You can accept that you made a mistake, learn from it, and move on. You don't get to fix this by throwing money or job offers at him. Some things you just have to sit with. Serena hated that he was right, but he was right. She pushed the file across the desk toward Marcus. Fine, but I want his information kept in the system. If he ever applies for another position here, I want to know about it. Done. Marcus stood up to leave, then paused. For what it's worth. I think you're changing, and that's not a bad thing. After he left, Serena sat alone with her coffee and thought about Ava asleep in the hospital bed. About Caleb walking into that dingy apartment building, holding his ribs. About all the people in the world who did hard things quietly without expecting medals or recognition. Her phone buzzed. Derek. She almost didn't answer, but she did. Hey, Ava's asking if you're coming over today. I have a board meeting at 10. Of course you do. Derek, I'm not starting a fight. I'm just telling you what your daughter wants. Serena looked at her calendar. The board meeting would run until noon. Then she had a lunch with investors, then strategy planning at 2. I'll cancel the lunch, she said. What? I'll cancel the lunch meeting. I'll be there at noon. There was a long pause. Really? Really? Okay, good. She'll be happy. They hung up. Serena called Kelly. Clear my lunch meeting. Reschedule it for next week. The investors are flying in from New York. They're only in town today. Then they can wait, or they can find another company to invest in. Kelly was quiet for a moment. Okay, I'll handle it. Thank you. Serena stood up and walked to the window. 32 floors down, people were walking to work, hailing cabs, buying coffee from street vendors, living their lives without any idea what was happening in the glass tower above them. She thought about what Caleb had said. You don't know how much time you've got. She pulled out her phone and texted Ava, See you at lunch. Love you. The response came back immediately. Love you too, Mom. 3 exclamation points. Serena smiled despite everything. At 11 o'clock, Caleb was in his apartment applying for jobs online when his phone rang. Another unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "This is Caleb." "Mr. Rowe, my name is Patricia Gordon. I'm a teacher at Riverview Academy. I was there yesterday when you helped that little girl." Caleb sat up straighter. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I'm calling because I wanted to thank you, and because I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to speak with our school board." "About what?" "About safety protocols, about training teachers to respond to threats, about everything you did yesterday that probably saved Ava Blake's life." "Ms. Gordon, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a trainer. I'm just a father who knows how to protect children. That's exactly who we need." Caleb rubbed his face. His ribs hurt. His head hurt. He didn't want to relive yesterday in front of a room full of strangers. But he thought about Mia, about all the other kids like Mia who needed adults who knew what to do when things went bad. "When's the meeting?" he asked. "Thursday at 6. I know it's short notice, but I'll be there. Email me the address." "Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Really." After he hung up, he sat there for a minute, wondering what he'd just agreed to. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Rowe, this is James Chen. I was the UPS driver yesterday. Just wanted to say you're a brave man. If you ever need anything, you let me know." Then another text, another unknown number. "This is Diana Martinez, CPD. Wanted to let you know we picked up Vincent Marrow this morning. He's in custody. You probably saved a lot of kids." Caleb stared at the messages. He hadn't done anything special. He'd just been there. He'd just reacted. The same way he'd reacted 1,000 times overseas when the mortars came in, or the convoy got hit, or someone started bleeding out in the street. You didn't think. You just moved. But apparently moving mattered. He saved the messages and went back to the job search. At noon, Serena walked into Derek's house in Lincoln Park and found Ava curled up on the couch watching cartoons. Her daughter's face lit up when she saw her. "Mom!" Serena sat down and pulled Ava into a hug. "Hey, baby, how are you feeling?" "Good. Dad made me pancakes for breakfast." "Did he?" "He said I could have whatever I wanted because I was brave yesterday." "You were very brave." Ava settled against Serena's side. On the TV, cartoon characters were solving mysteries with a talking dog. "Mom?" "Yeah?" "The man who helped me yesterday. The nice man. Do you know him?" Serena's throat tightened. "I do. His name is Caleb." "Is he okay? He was bleeding a lot." "He's okay. He's tough. He told me he has a daughter, like me." "He does." "What's her name?" "Mia." "How old is she?" 7, I think. Ava thought about this. "I'm 8, so I'm older. By a year. Do you think maybe I could meet her someday? To say thank you?" Serena stroked Ava's hair. "Maybe, if that's okay with Caleb. I think it would be nice, because he saved me, so I should be nice to his daughter." "That's a very sweet idea, honey." Derek came in from the kitchen carrying sandwiches. He stopped when he saw Serena and Ava together on the couch, and something crossed his face. Something soft. "Lunch is ready," he said quietly. They ate together at the kitchen table. Derek asked Ava about what she wanted to do this weekend. Ava said maybe they could go to the aquarium. Derek said that sounded perfect, and Serena sat there watching them, realizing how many of these moments she'd missed while she was busy being important. After lunch, Ava went upstairs to play. Derek walked Serena to the door. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Of course. I mean it. She needed to see you." "I needed to see her too." Derek looked at her for a long moment. "You know what's weird? Yesterday was the worst thing that's ever happened to Ava, but I think it might have been the best thing that's happened to us." "What do you mean?" "I mean you're here, in the middle of the day, missing meetings, putting her first." He smiled slightly. "I never thought I'd see it. People change." "Do they?" "I'm trying to." Derek reached out and squeezed her shoulder. "Good. Keep trying." Serena walked back to her car. Paul was waiting, reading a newspaper. "Back to the office, Ms. Blake?" She thought about it. Thought about the strategy meeting at 2. Thought about the emails piling up in her inbox. Thought about Ava asking if she could meet Mia someday. "Actually, Paul, I need you to take me to Rogers Park. Paul looked surprised, but didn't question it. Address? Serena pulled out her phone and found Caleb's personnel file. She read off the address. 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of the gray building with bars on the windows. Serena stared at it, second-guessing herself. What was she doing here? Marcus had told her to leave Caleb alone. And he was right. She couldn't fix this with a conversation. But Ava's voice kept echoing in her head. Do you think maybe I could meet her someday? Serena got out of the car. The building's front door was locked. There was a buzzer system. She ran her finger down the list of names until she found it. 3C. Row. She pressed the button. Nothing happened. She pressed it again. A crackle of static, then, hello? It was a child's voice. Hi, is this Mia? Yes, who's this? My name is Serena. I'm a friend of your dad's. Is he home? He's in the shower. Do you want me to get him? That's okay. Can you just let me in? I'll wait in the hallway. There was a pause. Then Mia said, very carefully, My dad says I'm not supposed to let strangers into the building. Serena smiled despite herself. Your dad is very smart. How about this? Can you tell him Serena Blake is here? He'll know who I am. Okay. Hold on. The intercom went silent. Serena waited. 2 minutes passed, then 3. The intercom crackled again. This time it was Caleb's voice. Ms. Blake? Hi. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Can I come up? I already told you. It's not about a job. It's about my daughter. Silence. Then the door buzzed open. Serena climbed 3 flights of stairs and found Caleb waiting in the hallway outside his apartment. His hair was wet. He was wearing jeans and a faded army t-shirt. The bruises on his face looked worse today, deep purple and angry yellow. You shouldn't be here, he said. I know. So why are you? Serena took a breath. Ava asked about you. She asked if she could meet Mia, to say thank you. Caleb's expression didn't change. That's not necessary. I know it's not necessary, but she wants to. She's 8 years old and someone tried to take her and you stopped it. That's not something she's going to forget. Kids forget everything eventually. Not this. Not you. Caleb leaned against the doorframe. Ms. Blake. Serena, please. Serena, I understand what you're trying to do, but I don't think it's a good idea for our kids to meet. Why not? Because then Mia will have questions about how I know you, about why I'm not working anymore, about all the things I'm trying not to explain to a 7-year-old. So tell her the truth. The truth is that I got fired for being late, and then I happened to save your daughter's life. That's not a story. That's just random chance. The truth is that you're a good man who did a brave thing. Why is that so hard for you to accept? Caleb looked at her with those tired eyes. Because good men die every day and it doesn't mean anything. Because brave doesn't pay the rent. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy trying to keep his kid fed and safe and everything else is noise. Behind him, Mia appeared in the doorway. She was small, dark-haired, with eyes that looked too old for her face. Dad? Is everything okay? Caleb turned. Everything's fine, kiddo. Go finish your homework. But Mia was looking at Serena now. Are you the lady from the intercom? I am. Hi, Mia. I'm Serena. Hi. Mia stepped out into the hallway. Are you really my dad's friend? Yes. I work with your dad. Worked, Caleb corrected quietly. Mia looked between them, processing. Did you get fired too? Serena blinked. No, I didn't get fired. Oh, so you still have a job? Mia, Caleb said. Inside. Now. But Mia wasn't done. She looked at Serena very seriously and said, My dad is really good at his job. He fixes things, and he's never late except when it's important. So if he got fired, it wasn't fair. Serena's throat tightened. You're right. It wasn't fair. Are you the boss? Mia, yes, Serena said. I'm the boss. Then you should give him his job back. I tried. He said no. Mia looked at her dad. Why did you say no? Caleb rubbed his face. It's complicated, kiddo. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to explain. Despite everything, Serena almost laughed. Caleb sighed. Mia, go inside. I'll be there in a minute. Mia looked like she wanted to argue, but something in her dad's voice made her nod. Okay, but you should listen to the lady. She seems nice. She went back inside, leaving the door half open. Caleb and Serena stood in the hallway, not quite looking at each other. She's great, Serena said finally. She's a pain in the ass, but yeah, she's great. She reminds me of Ava. How so? Smart, stubborn, doesn't miss anything? Caleb almost smiled. Sounds about right. Serena gathered her courage. Let them meet, one time, at a park or somewhere neutral, just so Ava can say thank you and move on. And then what? And then nothing. I'll leave you alone. I promise. Caleb was quiet for a long time. Then he said, There's a park on Foster Avenue, near the lake. Saturday at 10. Okay. But just this once, and then we're done. Done. I understand. Serena turned to leave, then stopped. Caleb? Yeah? Thank you for everything. He didn't answer, just nodded once and went back inside his apartment, closing the door behind him. Serena walked back down the 3 flights of stairs and got into the car. Back to the office? Paul asked. Yeah, back to the office. As they drove away, she looked back at the gray building and thought about Caleb and Mia up there in their small apartment, navigating a world that hadn't been kind to either of them. And she thought about Saturday, about 2 little girls meeting in a park, about whether some broken things could actually be fixed, or if some mistakes just had to be lived with forever. Saturday morning came cold and gray, the kind of November day that threatened snow but hadn't committed yet. Caleb stood in front of the bathroom mirror trying to decide if he should shave. The bruises on his face had faded from purple to a sickly yellow-green, but they were still visible, still a reminder. He decided to shave anyway. No point looking worse than he had to. From the living room, Mia called out, Dad, what should I wear? Whatever you want, kiddo. That's not helpful. Caleb smiled and walked out to find her standing in front of her closet, with that very serious expression she got when she was overthinking something. It's just a park, he said. Jeans and a sweater. Maybe your jacket because it's cold. But we're meeting someone important. We're meeting a little girl and her mom. They're just people. Mia pulled out her favorite purple sweater, the one Grace had bought her 2 Christmases before she died. What if she doesn't like me? Ava? Why wouldn't she like you? I don't know. What if I'm boring? Caleb knelt down so he was eye level with his daughter. You are many things, Mia Rowe, but boring is not one of them. You're smart and funny and kind. Any kid would be lucky to be your friend. You have to say that. You're my dad. I have to feed you and keep you alive. I don't have to lie to make you feel better. Mia thought about this, then nodded. Okay, purple sweater it is. Good choice. They drove to Foster Avenue Park in the old Civic. The heater was working today, which felt like a minor miracle. Caleb parked near the playground and checked his phone. 9:58. They were early. What does she look like? Mia asked, peering out the window at the empty park. I don't know. I've never met her. But you met her mom. Yeah. And her mom is your boss? Was my boss. Right. Mia unbuckled her seatbelt. Can we get out? I want to swing. Let's wait until they get here. But Dad, 5 minutes. Then we'll swing whether they're here or not. Mia sighed dramatically and slumped in her seat. At exactly 10 o'clock, a black car pulled into the parking lot. Not a regular car, the kind with a driver, the kind that cost more than Caleb made in a year. Is that them? Mia asked. Probably. The back door opened and Serena got out first, wearing jeans and a coat that looked casual but probably cost a fortune. Then a little blonde girl climbed out, looking around nervously. Caleb and Mia got out of the Civic. For a moment, both families just stood there in the parking lot, sizing each other up. Then Ava ran forward. You're him! You're the man who saved me! Caleb crouched down as she reached him. Hey, Ava. How are you feeling? I'm good. My elbow still hurts a little, but the doctor said it's fine. She showed him the bandage. See? Looks like you're healing up nice. Ava noticed Mia then, half hiding behind Caleb. Hi. Are you Mia? Mia nodded shyly. I'm Ava. I'm 8. How old are you? 7. Cool. Do you want to swing? Mia glanced at Caleb. He nodded. The 2 girls took off toward the playground, leaving the adults standing in the cold. Serena walked over slowly. Thank you for coming. You said one time. I did. They walked toward a bench near the swings and sat down, keeping a careful distance between them. On the playground, the girls were already racing to see who could swing higher. She looks good, Caleb said, watching Ava. No nightmares? A few, but Derek and I are taking turns staying with her. She's tough. Kids are tougher than we think. Your daughter seems sweet. She's shy at first, but yeah, she's a good kid. They sat in silence for a while. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of snow from Lake Michigan. Caleb pulled his jacket tighter. Can I ask you something? Serena said. Sure. Why did you really take that job at my company? Building services, I mean. You were a combat medic. You worked trauma. That's high-level medical stuff. Caleb watched Mia pump her legs, trying to match Ava's height. Because high-level medical stuff means long hours and unpredictable schedules, means being on call, means missing bedtimes and school plays, and all the things that matter to a 7-year-old. So you gave up your career. I didn't give up anything. I chose what mattered more. Serena was quiet. That must have been hard. Losing Grace was hard. Everything after that was just logistics. Grace was your wife? Caleb nodded. She died 3 years ago, ovarian cancer. By the time they caught it, there wasn't much they could do. 6 months from diagnosis to the end. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Doesn't change anything. Serena flinched at the bluntness of it, but Caleb hadn't meant it cruel. It was just true. Sorry didn't bring people back. Sorry didn't pay the bills or wake up in the middle of the night when Mia had bad dreams. Can I ask something else? She said. You're on a roll. Why didn't you tell me? That morning in the conference room, why didn't you explain about Mia's school? Caleb was quiet for a long moment. You really want to know? I do. Because I learned a long time ago that the world doesn't care about your reasons. The Army taught me that. A medic doesn't get to be late because he's tired or scared or traumatized. He shows up because people are bleeding and they need him. Period. No excuses. But this wasn't the Army, wasn't it? You had 30 people in that room who needed to respect you. Needed to know you had standards. If you'd let me slide, what message does that send? That the rules are flexible? That timing doesn't matter? So you just accepted it. I accepted that I screwed up. I was late to a meeting I was told to attend. Everything else is just context. He looked at her. You made the call you thought you had to make. I don't blame you for it. Serena shook her head. You should. I should have asked. I should have listened. Maybe. But you didn't know me. You didn't know my situation. All you knew was that I was 20 minutes late to something important. From your perspective, I was unreliable. You acted on the information you had. That doesn't make it right. No, but it makes it understandable. On the playground, Mia had jumped off her swing mid-arc and Ava was clapping. They were already laughing together like they'd known each other for years instead of minutes. They're getting along, Serena observed. Kids are good at that. They don't carry all the baggage we do. Must be nice. Caleb almost smiled. Sometimes. A woman pushing a stroller walked past, nodding hello. An old man was throwing a tennis ball for a dog that was too old to chase it very far. Normal Saturday morning stuff. The kind of thing Caleb used to take for granted before Grace got sick and everything became precious and temporary. I looked at your file, Serena said. Caleb tensed. What file? Your employment file. After everything happened, I wanted to understand who you were, what I'd missed. And what did you find? That you're overqualified for changing light bulbs. That you specifically requested no overtime and no travel. That your references from the hospital were glowing but mentioned personal circumstances that required you to step back. Sounds about right. Why didn't you tell me any of that when I offered you your job back? Caleb turned to look at her directly. Because I don't want to be your redemption story. I don't want to be the guy you saved to make yourself feel better about firing him. I just want to live my life without being anyone's lesson. The words landed hard. Serena looked away, her jaw tight. That's fair, she said finally. Is it? I don't know. Maybe I deserve it. They sat there as the temperature dropped and the sky got grayer. Caleb's ribs were aching from the cold. He should have taken the painkillers before coming, but he hated how they made him fuzzy. Dad! Mia came running over, Ava close behind. Can we go on the slides? Sure, kiddo. The girls took off again. Caleb watched them go. These two kids who had nothing in common except almost trauma, finding joy in a cold playground like nothing bad had ever happened. She asked if Mia could come over sometime, Serena said quietly. Ava, I mean. She asked if they could be friends. What did you tell her? That I'd have to ask you first. Caleb rubbed his face. This was supposed to be one time. I know. They're kids. They don't understand why things can't just be simple. Do you? He looked at her. Yeah, I do. Because nothing is ever simple when money and power are involved. Right now, we're two parents watching our kids play. But you're still a CEO, and I'm still a guy you fired. Those things don't just disappear. They could. No, they can't. You live in Lincoln Park or wherever. I live in Rogers Park with bars on the windows. You drive a car that costs more than my annual salary. I drive a Civic that burns oil. Our kids might get along, but their worlds don't overlap. Serena's eyes flashed. So that's it? You're just going to keep punishing me? I'm not punishing you. I'm being realistic. Realistic or afraid? Caleb stood up. I think we're done here. Wait, but he was already walking toward the playground. Mia, 5 more minutes, then we need to go. Mia looked disappointed but nodded. Ava's face fell. Already? Ava asked. We've got some errands to run, Caleb said, not looking at Serena. But we just started playing. I know, but sometimes things don't last as long as we want. Serena came up behind him. Caleb, please, don't do this. He turned. Don't do what? Exactly what we agreed to? One meeting, that's what you said. I know what I said, but nothing. This was a bad idea. I knew it was a bad idea, but I did it anyway because you asked. Now it's done. The girls are having fun. The girls will get over it. Mia was watching them now, confusion all over her face. Ava had tears in her eyes. And Caleb felt like the worst person in the world, but he also knew that this was the right call. Because letting Mia get attached to someone like Ava, to a life they could never have, was crueler than ending it now. Come on, Mia, let's go. Mia walked over slowly. Do we have to? Yeah, kiddo, we do. Can I at least say goodbye? Caleb's throat was tight. Of course, Mia turned to Ava. It was really nice to meet you. Ava wiped her eyes. You too. Maybe I'll see you again sometime? Caleb started to say no, but Serena cut in. Maybe. We'll see. The two girls hugged, quick and awkward, the way kids do. Then Caleb took Mia's hand and walked her back to the car. He didn't look back at Serena. Couldn't. They drove home in silence. Mia stared out the window, and Caleb could feel her disappointment like a weight in the car. She was nice, Mia said finally. Yeah. How come we can't be friends with them? It's complicated. You always say that. Because it's always true. I liked her, Dad. She was fun. I know. So why? Mia. Caleb's voice came out harsher than he meant. Drop it, please. She went quiet. He felt like garbage. When they got home, Mia went straight to her room and closed the door. Not a slam, just a quiet click that was somehow worse. Caleb sat on the couch and put his head in his hands. His phone buzzed. A text from Serena. That was cruel. He typed back. That was necessary. To who? The girls were happy. The girls don't understand consequences. Maybe you're the one who doesn't understand. He didn't respond. Just set the phone down and stared at the picture of Grace on the shelf. She was smiling in it, holding baby Mia, looking at the camera like she knew something the rest of the world didn't. I'm screwing this up, he said to the picture. I don't know what I'm doing. The picture didn't answer. It never did. Across town, Serena was dealing with her own fallout. Ava had cried all the way home, asking why they had to leave, why Mia couldn't come over, why grown-ups had to ruin everything. I don't know, baby, Serena said, because she didn't. But you're the boss. You can fix it. I can't fix everything. You always say you can. That stopped Serena cold. I do? Yeah. Whenever something's broken at your work, you say you'll fix it. So fix this. It's not that simple. Ava crossed her arms. Dad was right. You always say that when you don't want to try. The words hit like a slap. When they got home, Ava went up to her room. Serena stood in the entryway of Derek's house, feeling lost in a place that used to be hers. Derek came out of the kitchen. How'd it go? Terrible. What happened? Caleb decided it was a bad idea halfway through and left. Derek raised an eyebrow. Can you blame him? Excuse me? Serena, you fired this guy in front of a room full of people. Then his life and yours collided in the worst way possible, and now you're trying to force some kind of friendship between your kids. That's a lot. I'm not forcing anything. The girls liked each other. The girls are 8 and 7. They like everyone. But Caleb's trying to protect his daughter from getting hurt when your worlds eventually separate again. Who says they have to separate? Derek looked at her like she'd grown a second head. Because you live in different universes. Because you have nothing in common except one traumatic event. Because sooner or later, you'll go back to being the CEO who doesn't have time for anyone, and he'll go back to being a single dad barely making ends meet, and those two things don't mix. They could, but they won't, and he knows it. Derek softened a little. Look, I get what you're trying to do. You feel guilty. You want to make it right. But maybe the best thing you can do for him is exactly what he's asking for. Leave him alone. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to say Derek was wrong, that she could fix this if everyone would just let her try. But she was tired of arguing, tired of being wrong, tired of watching everything she touched turn complicated. I need to go, she said. Serena, tell Ava I love her. I'll see her next weekend. She left before Derek could respond. Paul drove her back to her apartment in the Gold Coast, a place with floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture that looked expensive because it was. She stood in the middle of her living room and felt completely alone. Her phone rang. Marcus. What? She said flatly. Wow. Hello to you too. I'm not in the mood. Clearly. Want to talk about it? No. Want to get drunk and make bad decisions? Despite everything, Serena almost laughed. Maybe. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't start without me. He hung up. Serena went to the kitchen and pulled out a bottle of wine that cost $200. She poured herself a glass and stood at the window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Caleb was probably making lunch for Mia. Probably trying to explain why they couldn't be friends with the nice lady and her daughter. Probably doing the million small things that single parents did to keep their kids safe and whole. And she was here, in her expensive apartment, drinking expensive wine, alone. When Marcus arrived, he took one look at her and said, Jesus, what happened? I tried to fix something. It didn't work. The guy from the hospital? Yeah. Marcus poured himself a glass and sat down on her white couch. Tell me. So she did. All of it. The park, the girls getting along, Caleb shutting it down and leaving. When she finished, Marcus was quiet for a long time. Say something, Serena said. I think he's right. Great, you're supposed to be on my side. I'm on your side, that's why I'm telling you the truth. Marcus set down his glass. You can't fix this, Serena. You can't apologize it away or throw money at it or force it into the shape you want. Sometimes you just have to accept that you messed up and move on. But the girls will be fine. Kids are resilient. They'll forget each other in a week. Ava won't. She asked if Mia could be her friend. Then be honest with her. Tell her that sometimes grown-ups make things complicated and there's nothing you can do about it. Serena drained her glass. I hate this. I know. I hate feeling powerless. I know that too. They sat in silence. Outside it started to snow. The first real snow of the season, coming down in thick white flakes that made the city look clean and new. Can I tell you something? Marcus said. Sure. I think this whole thing has been good for you. Serena looked at him. How the hell is this good for me? Because you're finally seeing people as people instead of chess pieces. You're finally understanding that actions have consequences, that you can't just bulldoze through life and expect everyone to fall in line. He smiled slightly. 3 weeks ago, you wouldn't have cared that you hurt Caleb Rowe's feelings. Now you're drinking $200 wine and feeling sorry for yourself because you can't fix it. That's growth. It feels like failure. Sometimes they're the same thing. Serena poured herself another glass. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never listened. They stayed up late, drinking and talking and watching the snow fall. And when Marcus finally left around midnight, Serena sat alone in the dark and thought about the choices that had brought her here. The next morning, she woke up with a headache and a text from Derek. Ava wants to know if she can write Mia a letter. I told her I'd ask you. Serena stared at the text for a long time. Then she called Caleb. He answered on the third ring. Yeah? It's Serena. Don't hang up. Silence. Ava wants to write Mia a letter. Derek asked me to ask you if that's okay. No. Caleb? I said no. We agreed this was one time, one meeting. That's it. They're kids. They just want to be friends. And I'm the parent. I get to decide what's best for my kid. And what's best is not getting attached to someone we're never going to see again. Why are you being so stubborn about this? Why are you being so pushy? His voice was sharp now. I told you what I needed. I told you we were done. But you keep pushing. You keep trying to make this into something it's not. What do you think this is? I think this is you trying to ease your conscience. I think you feel bad about firing me, and you're using our kids to make yourself feel better. That's not true. Isn't it? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know what the worst part is? I actually thought maybe you were different. Maybe you actually cared. But you don't. You just care about being right, about being in control, about making sure everyone knows that Serena Blake is a good person who makes up for her mistakes. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. I know that you built a company on being ruthless, and now you're surprised when people don't trust your sudden change of heart. I know that you have everything, money, power, success, and you still can't just let someone say no to you. Serena's throat was tight. I'm trying to do the right thing. No. You're trying to do the thing that makes you feel better. There's a difference. His voice softened just slightly. Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do, I really do, but this isn't going to work. We're from different worlds. Our kids might have fun together for an afternoon, but long term, it's not sustainable. And I'm not going to let Mia get attached to something that's going to disappear. What if it doesn't have to disappear? It always does. People like you don't stay in people like me's lives. Eventually you remember that we're not interesting or useful or whatever it is you need, and then you move on. And my kid is left wondering what she did wrong. I wouldn't do that. You already did. You fired me without asking why I was late. You made a snap judgment based on who you thought I was. What makes this different? Serena didn't have an answer. Tell Ava no letter, Caleb said. Tell her Mia is busy. Tell her whatever you need to tell her. But leave us alone. He hung up. Serena sat there with the phone in her hand, feeling like she'd been punched in the chest. He was right. About all of it. She had been trying to fix her own guilt. She had been pushing because she couldn't stand being told no. She had been using their kids as a way to rewrite what happened in that conference room. And now she'd made everything worse. She texted Derek back, Tell Ava that Mia's dad said no, and tell her I'm sorry. Derek's response came quickly. You okay? No. But I will be. She set the phone down and looked around her empty apartment. All this space, all this expensive furniture, all this success. And she'd never felt more alone in her life. Monday morning, she walked into Blake Industries with a different kind of resolve. Not the old kind built on control and authority, a newer, shakier kind, built on honesty. She called an all-staff meeting for 10 o'clock. When everyone was assembled in the main conference room, all 200 Chicago employees, packed in tight, Serena stood at the front without notes or slides. I want to tell you about a mistake I made, she began. The room went very quiet. 3 weeks ago, I fired a man named Caleb Rowe for being 20 minutes late to a meeting. I did it publicly, in front of the executive team, to make a point about accountability. What I didn't know was that he was late because he was dealing with a security threat at his daughter's school. I didn't ask. I didn't care. I just made an assumption and acted on it. People were shifting uncomfortably. Marcus was in the back watching her carefully. A few days later, that same man saved my daughter's life. He put himself between her and a kidnapper. He got hurt protecting her. And when I tried to apologize, when I tried to give him his job back, he turned me down because he didn't trust me. And why should he? I'd already shown him who I was. Serena took a breath. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, sometimes big ones, sometimes ones that hurt good people. And I'm trying to do better, But doing better means admitting when I'm wrong. It means listening before judging. It means treating people like human beings instead of resources. She looked around the room. If any of you have ever felt like I didn't see you, like I didn't value you, like I treated you as disposable, I'm sorry, really sorry, and I'm going to work on being better. But I need your help. I need you to tell me when I'm wrong. I need you to hold me accountable the same way I hold you accountable, because that's how this works. That's how we build something real. She stopped talking, waited. No one applauded. No one said anything. But slowly, people started nodding. A few were wiping their eyes. Marcus gave her a small thumbs up from the back. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't redemption, but it was a start. After the meeting, she went back to her office and found a folder on her desk. No note, just a folder. Inside was Caleb's file, and attached to it a sticky note in Marcus's handwriting, in case you need it. She looked at the information, his phone number, his address, his employment history. And underneath all of that, in the notes section, someone had added something new. Good man. Deserves better than we gave him. Serena closed the file and put it in her desk drawer. Maybe Caleb was right. Maybe they were from different worlds. Maybe nothing she did would bridge that gap. But at least now she understood something she hadn't before. Some mistakes couldn't be fixed. They could only be learned from. And sometimes that had to be enough. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. November turned into December and Chicago got serious about winter. The kind of cold that made your lungs hurt when you breathed. The kind that turned the sidewalks into skating rinks and made everyone walk like they were 90 years old. Caleb found work doing overnight security at a warehouse in Pilsen. The pay was worse than Blake Industries. The hours were brutal, but it meant he could sleep when Mia was at school and be awake when she got home. Mrs. Chen from downstairs agreed to sleep on his couch during his shifts, just in case Mia needed anything. It wasn't ideal, but it worked. Mia asked about Ava exactly twice. The first time, Caleb said they were busy. The second time, he said sometimes people come into your life for a short time and then they leave. And that's okay. Like Mom? Mia asked. The question knocked the air out of him. No, kiddo, not like Mom. Mom didn't choose to leave. But she still left. Yeah, she did. Mia went quiet after that, stopped asking. But Caleb saw the way she looked at other kids with their friends at school pickup, saw the loneliness she tried to hide. He hated it, hated that he couldn't give her more, hated that doing the right thing felt like the wrong thing. On a Thursday night, his phone rang while he was making dinner. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. This is Caleb. Mr. Rowe, this is Patricia Gordon from Riverview Academy. We spoke a few weeks ago. I remember. I'm calling because the school board meeting is tomorrow night, and we were hoping you could still come speak. I know it's last minute, but the board really wants to hear from you about safety protocols. Caleb looked at the pot of spaghetti boiling over on the stove. What time? 6 o'clock. It should only take about 30 minutes. I work nights. I'd need to find someone to watch my daughter. We can provide childcare during the meeting if that helps. We have a supervised room set up for board members' kids. Caleb thought about it, thought about turning it down. But then he thought about Mia's school, about that creep hanging around the playground, about all the other kids who needed adults who knew what to do. Okay, he said. I'll be there. Thank you, Mr. Rowe, really. The next evening, he and Mia drove to Riverview Academy in the north suburbs. It was one of those fancy private schools with a circular driveway and actual columns on the front of the building. The kind of place that cost more per year than Caleb made in 6 months. Wow, Mia said, staring up at it. This is a school? Yep. It looks like a castle. Rich people like fancy buildings. Are we rich? Caleb almost laughed. No, kiddo, we are definitely not rich. That's okay. I like our apartment. He squeezed her hand. Me too. Inside, Patricia Gordon met them in the lobby. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and the sort of calm energy that made you think she'd been teaching forever. Mr. Rowe, thank you so much for coming, and you must be Mia. Mia nodded shyly. We have some other kids in the activity room if you'd like to join them. We've got games and snacks and a movie playing. Mia looked at Caleb. He nodded. I'll come get you when I'm done, okay? Okay. Patricia led Mia down a hallway lined with student artwork, leaving Caleb standing in the marble lobby feeling completely out of place. The board is just finishing up budget discussions, Patricia said when she came back. We'll call you in about 10 minutes. Can I get you some coffee? I'm good, thanks. She left him alone. Caleb wandered over to a display case full of trophies and photos, academic competitions, sports teams, a whole wall dedicated to alumni who'd gone on to do important things. He thought about Mia, about the public school she attended with its peeling paint and outdated textbooks, about how hard she worked just to keep up. Mr. Rowe? He turned. A man in an expensive suit was standing in the doorway of what looked like a conference room. I'm David Winters, chairman of the board. We're ready for you. Caleb followed him into a room where 8 people sat around a long table. All of them looked like they belonged in that building. All of them looked like they'd never worried about making rent. Please, have a seat, Winters said, gesturing to a chair at the end of the table. Caleb sat, felt all their eyes on him. Mr. Rowe, Ms. Gordon has told us about the incident involving Ava Blake. We understand you intervened when a man attempted to abduct her near her school. That's correct. Can you walk us through what happened, specifically what you observed and how you responded? So Caleb did. He kept it clinical, factual. The man approaching Ava, her screaming, the grab, the intervention, the fight, the man fleeing. When he finished, the board members were quiet. A woman with silver hair spoke up. Miss Gordon mentioned you have military and medical training? Yes, ma'am. Army medic, 3 tours. After that, I worked trauma for a couple years. And what made you leave that field? Personal reasons. Could you elaborate? Caleb's jaw tightened. My wife got sick. I needed to be home more. Medical work isn't conducive to regular hours. The woman nodded. I see. And currently you work in security? Overnight security, yes. At what facility? A warehouse in Pilsen. Another board member, a younger guy with glasses, leaned forward. Mr. Rowe, what would you say are the biggest security vulnerabilities you see in school settings? And just like that, they were off. For the next 45 minutes, Caleb answered questions about perimeter security, staff training, emergency protocols, threat assessment. He talked about what he'd seen overseas, what he'd learned in trauma, what he wished schools understood about predators and opportunity. He forgot to be nervous, forgot to feel out of place. This was something he knew, something he was good at. When it was over, David Winters stood and shook his hand. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. This has been incredibly valuable. Happy to help. Actually, before you go, would you be interested in consulting for us on a more formal basis? We're looking to overhaul our security program and we could use someone with your expertise. Caleb blinked. Consulting? We'd pay you, of course, probably 15 to 20 hours a month. You'd review our protocols, train our staff, help us develop emergency response plans. The work would be flexible. You could do most of it remotely and come in for training sessions as needed. What's the rate? Winters named a number that was 3 times what Caleb made per hour at the warehouse. I'd have to think about it, Caleb said carefully. Of course. Here's my card. Take a few days, talk it over with your family, and let us know. Caleb took the card, shook hands with the rest of the board, found Mia in the activity room watching a movie with 4 other kids. How'd it go, Dad? Good, I think. Did you tell them about keeping kids safe? I did. Good. You're really good at that. On the drive home, Mia fell asleep in the back seat. Caleb drove through the cold, dark city, thinking about the offer, about what it would mean to have better pay, flexible hours, work that actually used his skills, about whether he could really do it. His phone buzzed at a red light, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Mr. Rowe, this is Sarah Chen from Lakeside Elementary. Principal Hendricks gave me your number. We're organizing a parent safety committee and wondered if you'd be interested in joining. No pressure, just thought I'd ask. He stared at the text. Then another one came through. This is James Chen, UPS guy from the Ava Blake incident. My wife teaches at a school in Evanston. They're looking for someone to do a safety workshop for parents. Pays $200 for 2 hours. Interested? And another. Mr. Rowe, this is Officer Martinez. CPD is starting a civilian response training program. Your name came up. Would love to talk if you have time. Caleb pulled over into a gas station parking lot and just sat there, staring at his phone. Word was spreading about what he'd done, about what he knew. People were reaching out. He didn't know what to do with that. Meanwhile, Serena was having her own reckoning. The all-staff meeting had changed something in the company. People were talking to her differently, not with fear or careful politeness, but with something that felt almost like respect. Marcus noticed it too. "You've got people actually coming to you with problems now," he said one afternoon, leaning against her office door frame. "Real problems, not just the ones they think you want to hear." "Is that good?" "It's honest." "Which is better?" Serena looked at the stack of memos on her desk. Suggestions, complaints, ideas. Things people had been sitting on for months or years because they didn't think anyone would listen. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Do what?" "Be the kind of boss people trust. I've spent my whole career being the kind people fear." "So learn. You're good at learning." "This is different. This is people. People are messy." Marcus smiled. "Yeah, they are. That's what makes them interesting." That evening, Serena went to pick up Ava from Derek's house. When she walked in, Ava was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. "Hey, baby, how was school?" "Good. We learned about fractions." "Sounds fun." "It wasn't." Ava looked up. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How come we can't see Mia anymore?" Serena's chest tightened. "I told you, honey. Her dad thought it was better if you two didn't hang out." "But why?" Because sometimes grown-ups make things complicated." "That's a dumb reason." "I know it feels that way." Ava set down her pencil. "I wrote her a letter anyway." "Ava, I didn't send it. I just wrote it because I wanted to tell her thank you for having a dad who saved me." Serena sat down next to her daughter. "Can I see it?" Ava pulled a piece of paper out of her backpack. It was written in careful, rounded handwriting with little hearts dotted over the eyes. "Dear Mia, my name is Ava and I met you at the park. Your dad saved me from a bad man and I wanted to say thank you. He was very brave and I hope his face doesn't hurt anymore. You're very lucky to have a dad like that. I wish we could be friends. Maybe someday we can. Love, Ava." Serena read it twice, feeling something crack open inside her chest. "This is really sweet, honey. Do you think her dad would let me send it?" "I don't know." "Could you ask him, please?" Serena looked at her daughter's hopeful face and thought about Caleb's words on the phone, about how he didn't want Mia getting attached to something that would disappear. But maybe it didn't have to disappear. Maybe there was a way to do this that wasn't about her guilt or his anger. Maybe there was a way to just let two kids be friends. "I'll try," Serena said, "but I can't promise anything." "That's okay. Trying is good." That night, after Ava went to bed, Serena sat in her apartment and stared at her phone for a long time. She typed and deleted 3 different texts to Caleb before finally settling on something simple. Ava wrote Mia a letter. She wants to send it. I told her I'd ask you first, no pressure, just being honest. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. She was getting ready for bed when her phone buzzed. What does it say? She took a picture of the letter and sent it. Another long pause. Then, Mia can write back if she wants, but that's it. Just letters. No more meetings. No more expectations. Serena typed, Understood. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This might be a mistake. Maybe. But maybe it's not. He didn't respond after that, but he didn't have to. The next Saturday, Ava carefully addressed an envelope to Mia Rowe. Serena had gotten the address from Caleb via text. They drove to the post office together, and Ava dropped it in the mail slot herself. How long until she gets it? Ava asked. Probably a few days. And then she'll write back? Maybe, if she wants to. She'll want to. I know she will. Serena hoped her daughter was right. On Tuesday, Caleb came home from dropping Mia off at school to find an envelope in his mailbox. Fancy stationery. A return address in Lincoln Park. He opened it standing in the hallway outside his apartment. Inside was Ava's letter, written in careful kid handwriting with hearts over the eyes. He read it standing there, feeling something he couldn't quite name. That evening, when Mia got home from school, he handed her the letter. What's this? She asked. Read it. She did. Her face lit up. She wrote to me. She did. Can I write back? Caleb hesitated. This was the edge of something. Once they started this, it would be hard to stop. But he looked at Mia's face, at the pure joy there, and he couldn't say no. Yeah, kiddo, you can write back. Mia grabbed her notebook and a pencil and sat down at the kitchen table. She chewed on the pencil for a minute, thinking. Then she started writing. Dear Ava, thank you for your letter. My dad's face is better now. The bruises are gone. He says you were very brave too. He says you did everything right. I wish we could be friends too. Maybe we can write letters. I've never had a pen pal before. Your friend, Mia P.S. What's your favorite color? Mine is purple. She showed it to Caleb. Is this good? It's perfect. They walked to the mailbox together that evening, Mia holding the envelope like it was made of glass. She mailed it herself, then turned to Caleb. Do you think she'll write back again? Probably. Good. I like having a friend. Something in Caleb's chest pulled tight. Me too, kiddo. The letters continued. One every week or so. Nothing heavy. Just kid stuff. Favorite colors. Favorite foods. What they were learning in school. Ava told Mia about her cat. Mia told Ava about the time she tried to build a robot out of cardboard boxes. Serena watched her daughter carefully compose each letter and felt something shift. This wasn't about her guilt anymore. This wasn't about fixing her mistake. This was about two kids who'd found each other in the wreckage of something terrible and decided they wanted to stay connected. And maybe that was okay. One evening in mid-December, Marcus called Serena at home. Turn on Channel 7, he said without preamble. What? Why? Just do it. She grabbed the remote and switched to the local news. A reporter was standing outside a school interviewing someone. Someone she recognized. Caleb. And Mr. Rowe has been working with schools across the city to improve security protocols and train staff on emergency response, the reporter was saying. Since the attempted abduction of 8-year-old Ava Blake in November, Mr. Rowe has become something of a local hero, using his military and medical background to help keep children safe. The camera cut to Caleb. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. I'm not a hero, he said. I just happened to be in the right place. But if what happened that day can help prevent other kids from being hurt, then yeah, I want to be part of that. You've been consulting with several schools now? A few, yeah. Helping them review their security, train their staff, basic stuff. And you're doing all this while working a full-time job and raising your daughter as a single parent? Caleb's jaw tightened. Lots of people do hard things. I'm not special. But you are making a difference. I hope so. The segment ended. Serena sat there with the remote in her hand, stunned. Marcus was still on the phone. You seeing this? Yeah. He's doing good work, Serena. I know. Maybe it's time to stop seeing this as your failure and start seeing it as his success. She didn't know what to say to that. The next day, she sent Caleb a text. Saw you on the news. You're doing amazing work. His response came an hour later. Just trying to keep kids safe. Still, it matters. Thanks. She wanted to say more. Wanted to ask if they could talk, if there was a way to move forward that didn't involve all the baggage and anger and guilt. But she didn't. Instead, she wrote, Ava's birthday is in 3 weeks. She's having a small party at our place. Nothing fancy, just a few kids from school. She asked if Mia could come. I know this is more than letters, and I'm not trying to push, but I wanted to ask. She hit send before she could overthink it. The response took longer this time, long enough that Serena thought he wasn't going to answer at all. Then, when? December 28th, 2 p.m. I'll ask Mia. No promises. Of course. Thank you for considering it. That evening, Caleb asked Mia if she wanted to go to Ava's birthday party. Her eyes went wide. Really? I can go? If you want to. Yes. Yes, I want to go. She stopped. Wait. Will you come too? I'll drop you off and pick you up. But you won't stay. Caleb thought about it. Thought about walking into Serena's home, surrounded by her world, reminded of all the ways they didn't fit. Probably not, kiddo. Mia's face fell. Oh. But you can still go. You'll have fun. I guess. She didn't look convinced. Later that night, after Mia was asleep, Caleb stood in the kitchen making coffee he didn't need and thinking about choices, about protection, about whether keeping Mia away from people like Serena and Ava was really helping her or just making him feel safer. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Yeah? Mr. Rowe, this is David Winters from Riverview Academy. I'm sorry to call so late. It's fine. What's up? I wanted to follow up on our consulting offer. We've finalized the contract details and we're hoping you'll accept. The board was incredibly impressed with your presentation, and several parents have specifically requested you for their children's schools as well. Caleb leaned against the counter. What exactly would this involve? Initially 20 hours a month with us, but we've had inquiries from 3 other schools in our network. If you're interested, we could coordinate a broader consulting arrangement. You'd essentially be developing security protocols and training programs for multiple institutions. We estimate it could be 40 to 50 hours a month at the rate we discussed. Caleb did the math in his head. That was more than he made at the warehouse. That was enough to quit overnight security. That was enough to be home with Mia every evening. I'd need flexible hours, he said. I have a daughter. We understand. Most of the work can be done remotely. Training sessions would be scheduled around your availability. And this would start when? January, if you're agreeable. Caleb looked around his small kitchen. At the calendar on the wall with Mia's school events marked in purple pen. At the picture of Grace that he still couldn't bring himself to put away. Can I have it in writing? I'll email you the contract tomorrow. Then yeah, I'm interested. Excellent. Welcome aboard, Mr. Rowe. After he hung up, Caleb stood there in the quiet apartment, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe things were changing. Maybe the universe was finally cutting him a break. Maybe all the hard stuff was actually leading somewhere. Or maybe he was just tired of being angry and afraid and alone. He pulled out his phone and texted Serena. Mia wants to come to the party, and I'll stay if that's okay. She asked me to. The response came quickly. Of course it's okay. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm probably going to be awkward. Join the club. He smiled despite himself. December 28th was cold and bright, the kind of winter day where the sky was so blue it hurt to look at. Caleb drove Mia to Lincoln Park, following the GPS to an address that made him check twice to make sure he had it right. The building was one of those historic brownstones that had been converted into luxury condos, the kind with a doorman and actual marble in the lobby. Wow, Mia said, staring up at it. Yeah. Ava lives here? Apparently. They walked in. The doorman smiled at them. Here for the Blake party? Yes, sir. 3rd floor. Elevators to your right. They rode up in an elevator that had mirrors and wood paneling and probably cost more than Caleb's car. Mia kept staring at their reflection. Dad, we look poor. We're not poor, we're normal. Everyone else is going to be rich. Probably, but that doesn't make them better than you. Promise? Promise. The elevator opened onto a hallway with exactly 2 doors. They found 3B and knocked. Serena answered. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked nervous. Hi, she said. Come in. The apartment was exactly what Caleb expected. High ceilings, hardwood floors, windows that looked out over the city, tasteful furniture, original art on the walls, and full of kids. 8 or 9 children were running around with balloons. Ava was in the middle of them, laughing. When she saw Mia, she screamed and ran over. You came! Yeah! The 2 girls hugged like they hadn't seen each other in years instead of weeks. Come on, I want to show you my room. Ava grabbed Mia's hand and pulled her down the hallway. Caleb stood there in the entryway, suddenly very aware that he was alone with Serena. Can I get you something to drink? She asked. Coffee? Water? Water's fine. He followed her into a kitchen that was bigger than his entire apartment. She pulled 2 bottles of water from a refrigerator that had a screen on the front. The other parents are in the living room, she said. You're welcome to join them, or you can hide in here with me. I've been hiding for the last half hour. Not a fan of kids' parties? Not a fan of small talk with parents who all know each other and have nothing in common with me except zip code. Caleb smiled slightly. Yeah, I know that feeling. They stood there in awkward silence. From the other room came the sound of children shrieking and music playing. Thank you for coming, Serena said. Ava's been talking about it for 3 weeks. Mia, too. They're good for each other. Seems like it. More silence. Caleb took a sip of water just to have something to do. Look, Serena started, then stopped. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Talk to you without feeling like I'm apologizing or making excuses or trying too hard. Caleb set down the water. Then don't do any of those things. Just talk. About what? I don't know. Normal stuff. What's Ava into these days? Serena relaxed slightly. Soccer. And those books about the kids who solve mysteries. She tears through about one a week. Mia's the same. Well, not soccer, but books, yeah. She's reading above her grade level. So is Ava. Her teacher says she gets bored easily. Grace was like that. Smart as hell. Always 3 steps ahead of everyone. It was the first time he'd mentioned Grace to her without pain coloring every word. Serena noticed. What was she like? Caleb thought about it. Kind, funny. She could make friends with anyone. She used to say I was too serious and she was balancing me out. Was she right? Usually. How long were you married? 8 years. Met her in a hospital in Germany. I was deployed, got hurt. She was the nurse who kept telling me to stop being a baby about the stitches. Despite everything, Serena smiled. Sounds like she didn't take any nonsense. Not even a little bit. Caleb's voice got quieter. When she got sick, she made me promise I wouldn't stop living. Wouldn't just become Mia's dad and nothing else. She said Mia needed to see me be a whole person. That's good advice. Yeah, I haven't been great at following it. Before Serena could respond, Derek walked into the kitchen carrying a cake. Serena, where do you want... He stopped when he saw Caleb. Oh, hi. This is Caleb Rowe, Serena said. Caleb, this is Derek, my ex-husband. The 2 men shook hands, sizing each other up in that way men do. You're the guy who saved Ava, Derek said. I am. We owe you everything, seriously. You don't owe me anything. Just keep her safe. Derek nodded, planning on it. He set the cake down. Serena, we should probably do cake soon. The natives are getting restless. Right. Yeah. Let me get the candles. Derek left. Caleb and Serena were alone again. He seems decent, Caleb said. He is. We're better as friends than we ever were married. That happens. Yeah. They walked back into the living room where all the kids were gathered. Ava and Mia were sitting together, whispering and giggling about something. The other parents, well-dressed, confident, comfortable, were chatting near the windows. Caleb felt completely out of place. But then Mia looked up and saw him and smiled, and that was enough. The party continued. Cake, presents, games. Caleb stayed on the edges, watching Mia interact with kids who lived in a different world than she did, watching her hold her own. At one point, Serena came and stood next to him. She's doing great, she said quietly. Yeah, she is. You've raised a good kid. I'm trying. It shows. They watched the children together, and for the first time since that morning in the conference room, Caleb felt something shift between them. Not forgiveness exactly, not friendship, but maybe the beginning of something that could become one or the other. When the party wound down and parents started collecting their kids, Caleb found Mia and told her it was time to go. Already? She asked. We've been here 3 hours, kiddo. But I'm having fun. I know, but all good things have to end sometime. Mia hugged Ava goodbye. Can we do this again? Yeah. Maybe you could come to my place next time, just you, like a sleepover. Mia looked at Caleb hopefully. He looked at Serena. We'll figure something out, Serena said. On the drive home, Mia talked non-stop about the party, about the games they played, about Ava's room, about how nice everyone was. Dad? Yeah? I really like Ava. I can tell. Do you think we can keep being friends, even though we're different? Caleb glanced at her in the rearview mirror. What makes you think you're different? She has a big house and fancy stuff. We don't. That's just money, kiddo. That's not what makes people different or the same. Then what does? How they treat each other. Whether they're kind, whether they show up when it matters. He paused. You and Ava both went through something scary. You both understand what that's like. That matters more than any house or any amount of money. Mia thought about this. Yeah, I guess you're right. I usually am. That's what Mom used to say about herself. She was right too. When they got home, Mia went straight to her room to write Ava another letter. Caleb sat on the couch and pulled out his phone. A text from Serena. Thank you for staying. It meant a lot to Ava. And to me. He typed back. Thanks for inviting us. Mia had a great time. She's welcome anytime. Careful, she might take you up on that. Good. This place is too quiet. Caleb stared at that message, read between the lines, understood what she wasn't saying. You okay? The response took a while. Working on it. One day at a time. Yeah, I know that feeling. I think we all do. He set the phone down and looked around his small apartment, at the worn furniture, at Mia's artwork on the fridge, at the picture of Grace that still sat on the shelf. Things were changing, the job, the consulting, the connection with Serena and Ava, all of it. He didn't know if it was good change or just different change. But for the first time in 3 years, he was willing to find out. January came in hard and cold, the kind of month that made you forget what warmth felt like. Caleb gave his notice at the warehouse and started his consulting work full time. The first week, he felt like an imposter. By the second week, he realized he was good at this, better than good. He'd spend mornings reviewing security footage and protocols for different schools, then afternoons running training sessions with teachers and staff. The work was steady. The pay was real. And for the first time since Grace died, he could pick Mia up from school without worrying about how he'd make rent. You look different, Mrs. Chen said one afternoon when he stopped by to thank her for all the nights she'd stayed over. Different how? Less tired, less worried. She patted his arm. It's good to see. Mia noticed too. One evening while they were making dinner together, actual dinner, not just ramen or sandwiches, she said, Dad, are we doing better now? What do you mean? Like, money-wise, are we okay? Caleb looked at his 7-year-old daughter, who shouldn't have to think about money but did anyway because kids absorbed everything, even the things you tried to hide. Yeah, kiddo, we're okay. Good, because I want to get Ava a present for being my friend. You don't have to buy people presents for being your friend. I know, but I want to. She gave me stuff at her party. That's different. It was her birthday. Still, Mia stirred the pasta with intense concentration. Maybe we could make her something instead? That way it's special and it doesn't cost too much. Something in Caleb's chest pulled tight. That's a really good idea. What were you thinking? I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. 2 days later, Serena was in her office when Marcus knocked on the door. You've got a visitor, he said. I don't have anything on my calendar. I know, but you're going to want to take this one. He stepped aside and Caleb walked in, looking uncomfortable in the same way he had that first morning in the conference room. But different too, more sure of himself. Mr. Rowe, Serena said, standing up, this is a surprise. I should have called first, but I was in the neighborhood and I thought I'd take a chance. Marcus gave Serena a meaningful look and left, closing the door behind him. Please sit, Serena said. Caleb sat in one of the chairs across from her desk. For a moment, neither of them spoke. How's the consulting work going? Serena asked. Good. Really good, actually. I've been working with 6 schools now. They want me to develop a whole curriculum for emergency response training. That's amazing. Yeah, it's weird. I spent 3 years trying to disappear, and now suddenly everyone wants to hear what I have to say. That's what happens when you're good at something that matters. Caleb looked around the office. At the view of the city, at the expensive furniture, at all the trappings of success. This is a hell of an office, he said. It is. Do you ever feel like you don't deserve it? The question caught Serena off guard. What? I'm serious. Do you ever look around at everything you've built and think, how did I end up here? What makes me qualified for this? Serena leaned back in her chair. Every single day. Yeah? Yeah. I spent so long proving I belonged that I forgot to figure out if I actually wanted to be here. And now I have all this power and success, and I don't always know what to do with it. Is that why you were so hard on people? She winced. Probably. I thought if I showed any weakness, they'd see that I was making it up as I went along. We're all making it up as we go along. I'm starting to realize that. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I came here to tell you something. Okay, I was wrong. About you. About assuming you were just some rich CEO who didn't care about people. You're more complicated than that. I don't know if that's a compliment. It is. People who aren't complicated are boring. He shifted in his chair. And I was also being unfair. I was protecting myself and Mia, but I was doing it by shutting everyone out. That's not healthy either. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe we could try being actual friends. Not just people whose kids write letters to each other. Not just two people being polite because of what happened. Actual friends. Serena felt something warm spread through her chest. I'd like that. Good, because Mia's been asking if Ava can come over to our place sometime. And I keep saying no because I'm embarrassed about the apartment. But she's right. It's not fair to always have her go to Ava's place. Caleb, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, but I want to. If that's okay with you. Of course it's okay. When? This Saturday? Nothing fancy. Just let the girls hang out. Maybe order pizza. Sounds perfect. They stood up, shook hands. And this time when Caleb left, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Saturday afternoon, Serena drove Ava to Rogers Park. Ava was buzzing with excitement, asking questions the whole way. What's Mia's apartment like? Does she have her own room? Does she have a lot of toys? I don't know, honey. We'll see when we get there. They parked in front of the gray building. Ava looked up at it with wide eyes. This is where she lives? Yep. It's different than our place. Different isn't bad, just different. They climbed the 3 flights of stairs and knocked on 3C. Mia answered, beaming, You came! Of course I came! The girls hugged and disappeared into Mia's room, leaving Serena and Caleb standing in the small living room. Serena looked around. The apartment was clean but worn. The furniture was old. The TV was ancient, but there were books everywhere, and pictures, and signs of life. It's not much, Caleb said. It's perfect. You don't have to be nice. I'm not being nice. I'm being honest. This feels like a home. My place feels like a hotel. Caleb grabbed 2 beers from the fridge. You drink beer? I do now. They sat on the couch while the girls played in the other room. Caleb turned on a basketball game with the sound low. Can I ask you something? Serena said. Sure. What made you change your mind about us being friends? Caleb took a sip of beer. Honestly, Mia. She kept talking about Ava and how nice it was to have a friend, and I realized I was letting my own baggage get in the way of something good for her, and maybe for me too. I get that. Plus, I was talking to my therapist. You have a therapist? Yeah, started going after Grace died. Had to figure out how to not fall apart in front of my kid. He smiled slightly. She said I have trust issues. Imagine that, right? But she also said that not everyone is going to hurt you. Some people are just trying their best, and maybe I should give them a chance. Smart therapist. She has her moments. From Mia's room came the sound of laughter. Serena relaxed into the couch, which was lumpy but comfortable in that well-used way. This is nice, she said. What is? This. Just sitting, not trying to fix anything or prove anything, just being. Yeah, it is. They watched the game for a while. Neither of them knew much about basketball, but it didn't matter. Around 5, they ordered pizza. The girls ate in Mia's room, having some kind of elaborate tea party with stuffed animals. Serena and Caleb ate at the small kitchen table. So what's next for you? Caleb asked. With the company, I mean. I don't know. I'm trying to run it differently. More like people matter instead of just numbers. But it's hard. You can't change a whole culture overnight. No, but you can change it over time. Is that what you're doing with the schools? I'm trying. Teaching people that safety isn't just about locks and cameras. It's about awareness, about trusting your instincts, about looking out for each other. That's good work. It feels good. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Serena set down her pizza. Can I tell you something? Go ahead. That morning when I fired you, I wasn't thinking about you as a person. I was thinking about you as an example, a way to show everyone else that I was serious, and that was wrong. Not just because you didn't deserve it, but because it's not how you should treat people. I know. I've been trying to figure out how to be better, how to lead without being cruel, and it's harder than I thought. Because you care now. When you didn't care, it was easy. When you care, Everything's complicated. Yeah, but complicated is better. Complicated means you're paying attention. Serena looked at him across the small table. How'd you get so wise? I'm not wise, I'm just tired of being angry. He finished his beer. Grace used to say that anger is just fear in disguise. She said I was afraid of getting hurt, so I got mad instead. And she was right. I've been angry at the world for taking her away, angry at myself for not being able to save her, and I was taking it out on everyone around me. That's understandable. Maybe. But it's not fair, especially not to Mia. She deserves a dad who's present, not one who's stuck in the past. From the other room, the girls called out for them to come see something. Serena and Caleb walked into Mia's bedroom and found an elaborate fort made out of blankets and chairs. Look what we built, Mia said proudly. It's a castle, Ava added. We're princesses. It's very impressive, Serena said. Can we keep it up until tomorrow? Mia asked Caleb. If you promise to actually sleep in your bed tonight and not in the fort. Deal. The girls went back to playing. Serena and Caleb returned to the living room. She's happy, Serena observed. Yeah, she is. You're doing a good job with her. I'm doing my best. That's all any of us can do. At 7, Serena said they should probably head home. Ava didn't want to leave, but she hugged Mia goodbye and promised to write soon. At the door, Serena turned to Caleb. Thank you for today. Thank you for coming. I know it's not what you're used to. It's better than what I'm used to. It's real. She and Ava walked down the 3 flights of stairs. In the car, Ava was quiet. What are you thinking about? Serena asked. Mia's lucky. Why's that? Because her dad is there, like really there, not just sometimes or when it's convenient, all the time. The words hit Serena hard. Am I not there for you? You're getting better, but for a long time you weren't. Not really. Serena pulled over to the side of the road and turned to look at her daughter. You're right, she said. I wasn't there. I was working and building and proving myself, and I forgot that the most important thing I could be was your mom. And I'm sorry. It's okay. No, it's not okay. You deserve better. You deserve a mom who shows up, who asks about your day, who cares about the little things, not just the big ones. Ava's eyes filled with tears. Just want to spend time with you. I know, and I want that too. So here's what we're going to do. Every Saturday from now on, that's our day. No work, no meetings, just you and me, whatever you want to do. Really? Really, I promise. Ava threw her arms around Serena's neck. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby, so much. They drove home with Ava chattering about what they could do on Saturdays. The aquarium, the zoo, bike riding, museums, all the things they talked about doing but never got around to. And Serena realized that Caleb had taught her something important without even trying. Being present wasn't about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It was about showing up, consistently, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. 2 weeks later, Caleb got a call from Marcus Webb. Mr. Rowe, this is Marcus Webb from Blake Industries. We met briefly at Ava's party. I remember. What can I do for you? I'm calling on behalf of Serena. She has a proposition for you, but she was afraid to ask herself because she didn't want you to feel pressured. What kind of proposition? We're developing a comprehensive security program for all Blake Industries facilities worldwide. We want to hire you as Director of Safety and Security. It would be a full-time position with benefits, competitive salary, and most importantly, flexible hours so you can be there for Mia. Caleb sat down. I don't understand. I thought we were past all this. We are. This isn't about guilt or making amends. This is about you being the best person for the job. We've seen your work with the schools. We've seen how you think about safety holistically. We need that expertise. What's the salary? Marcus named a number that was more than Caleb had made in his best year as a medic. That's a lot of money. It's what the position is worth. And what you're worth. I need to think about it. Of course, take your time. But Caleb, Serena wanted me to tell you something. She said to tell you this isn't charity. It's not guilt. It's just recognizing talent and trying to keep it. That's all. That evening, Caleb told Mia about the offer while they were doing dishes together. That's a lot of money, she said, repeating his earlier words. It is. Would we move? No, we'd stay here. I just have a better job. Would you be happy? The question stopped him. What? Would it make you happy? The job? Caleb thought about it. Really thought about it. I think so. I'd be doing work that matters, helping keep people safe, and I'd still have time for you. Then you should do it. Just like that? Just like that. Mom would want you to be happy. She told me that before she died. She said Dad's going to be sad for a while, but eventually he'll find happy again. And when he does, you should help him grab it. Caleb's throat was tight. She said that? Yeah, I was really little, but I remember. He pulled Mia into a hug. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just didn't notice because you were sad. Fair enough. The next morning, Caleb called Marcus back and accepted the position. He started the following Monday. Walking into Blake Industries as an actual employee instead of building services felt surreal. He had an office on the 28th floor with a view of the lake. He had a team. He had resources. And he had Serena 3 floors above him, available if he needed anything, but otherwise giving him space to do his job. The first few weeks were intense. He had to learn the company's systems, assess their current protocols, identify vulnerabilities. But he was good at it, and people listened to him. One afternoon, he was reviewing security footage when Serena knocked on his door. How's it going? She asked. Good. Found about 15 gaps in your perimeter security. Working on fixing them. 15? You've been lucky. Your building services team has been covering for some pretty major holes. Noted. Can I buy you a coffee? Now? Unless you're too busy. They went to the cafe on the ground floor, sat by the window watching people hurry past in the February cold. I wanted to thank you, Serena said. For what? For giving this a chance, for not letting what happened define everything that came after. I'm still not sure this was a good idea. Why not? Because working together adds a whole new layer of complication. What if I screw up? What if you have to fire me again? Serena smiled. Then I'd talk to you first. Ask what happened. Listen to your side. You know, all the things I should have done the first time. Personal growth. I like it. I'm trying. She took a sip of her coffee. The girls want to have a sleepover this weekend at my place. Are you okay with that? Yeah, Mia's been talking about it nonstop. Good, because Ava has too. Serena hesitated. Derek mentioned that maybe we could all do dinner sometime. You, me, him, the girls, like a weird modern family thing. That does sound weird. But would you be up for it? Caleb thought about it, about how far they'd all come, about how none of this was perfect or simple, but it was real. Yeah, I'd be up for it. The dinner happened the following week. Chinese takeout at Derek's place. The girls ate in front of the TV while the adults sat in the kitchen, figuring out how to navigate this strange new dynamic. So you're working at Blake Industries now? Derek asked Caleb. Yeah, director of safety. That's great. Congratulations. Thanks. And you saved my daughter's life. I did what anyone would do. No, you did what most people would be too scared to do. And we're grateful. Really. They settled into an easy rhythm. Derek was funny, Caleb was dry. Serena was learning to relax, and somehow it worked. Later, as they were cleaning up, Derek pulled Serena aside. He's good for you, he said quietly. What? Caleb, he's good for you. You're different around him. We're not together, Derek. I know, but you should think about it. That would be too complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. Serena didn't know what to say to that, but she thought about it. March came with the promise of spring that Chicago never quite delivered. Caleb had been at Blake Industries for 6 weeks and had already made significant improvements to their security infrastructure. His team respected him. The board was impressed. And Mia was thriving. Better grades, more friends, more confidence. One Saturday, while the girls were at a movie with Derek, Caleb and Serena met for coffee. It had become a routine. Every week or so, they'd meet up and just talk. I've been thinking, Serena said. About? About what Derek said. About things being complicated. Caleb set down his cup. What did Derek say? That you're good for me. That I'm different around you. Are you? I think so. I'm more honest, less afraid to admit when I don't know something, less focused on controlling everything. That's good. Is it weird that my ex-husband is trying to set me up with you? Caleb laughed. A little, but Derek's not wrong. You are different, in a good way. So are you. Less angry, more open. Mia said the same thing. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, people were walking past with their coffee, their phones, their lives. I'm not good at this, Serena said finally. At what? At being vulnerable. At admitting I might have feelings for someone. Caleb's heart kicked up. Are you saying you have feelings for me? I don't know. Maybe. Do you have feelings for me? I might. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I've got right now. Serena smiled. Fair enough. Look, Caleb said. We've both been through a lot. We've both got baggage and kids and complicated lives, and maybe this is a terrible idea, but maybe it's not. So what do? We take it slow, we keep being honest, we don't put pressure on it, and we see what happens. I can do that. Good. Because I'm scared as hell, but I'm also tired of being alone. Me too. They finished their coffee, walked out into the cold March afternoon, and when Caleb took Serena's hand, she didn't pull away. 6 months later, on a bright Saturday in September, both families went to Foster Avenue Park, the same park where Ava and Mia had first met, the same park where Caleb had almost walked away. But this time was different. This time they brought a picnic, sat on blankets watching the girls play on the swings, watched them race each other to the slides, watched them be kids. Derek was there too, with his new girlfriend. Everyone got along. It was weird and imperfect and exactly what it needed to be. You happy? Serena asked Caleb quietly. Yeah, I think I am. Good, because I am too. Mia and Ava ran over, breathless and laughing. Can we get ice cream? Mia asked. Please, Ava added. Caleb looked at Serena. Serena looked at Derek. Derek shrugged. Sure, they all said at once. They walked to the ice cream shop on the corner, this weird blended family that didn't fit any normal definition but worked anyway. And as they walked, Caleb thought about that morning in the conference room all those months ago, about how getting fired was the worst thing that could have happened, until it became the best thing, because it forced him to stop hiding, forced him to engage with the world again, forced him to let people in. And it taught Serena something she'd needed to learn for a long time, that people weren't resources or problems to be managed. They were complicated and messy and worthy of patience and understanding. At the ice cream shop, the girls got chocolate. The adults got coffee flavor because they were adults, and that's what adults did. They sat outside on the benches, eating too fast because it was melting in the September heat. Dad? Mia said. Yeah, kiddo? I'm really glad we met, Ava. Me too. Even though you got fired? Even though I got fired, Ava chimed in. My mom says sometimes bad things happen so good things can happen after. Serena ruffled her daughter's hair. I did say that. Is it true? Ava asked. Caleb and Serena looked at each other. Yeah, Caleb said. I think it is. Later, after everyone had gone home and Mia was asleep, Caleb stood in his small apartment looking at the picture of Grace. I'm doing okay, he told her. Mia's doing okay. We're figuring it out. The picture didn't answer. It never did. But for the first time, Caleb didn't need it to. He knew Grace would be proud of him, proud of how he'd protected Mia, proud of how he'd found his way back to the world, proud of how he'd let people in despite all his fear. And he knew she'd like Serena, would approve of this strange, complicated thing they were building together. At her apartment across town, Serena was tucking Ava into bed. Mom? Yeah, baby? Are you and Caleb going to get married? Serena laughed. We're not even officially dating yet. But you like him. I do. And he likes you. I think so. Then you should date, and then maybe get married, and then Mia and I would be like sisters. Is that what you want? Ava thought about it seriously. Yeah, I think it is. Well, we'll see what happens, but no matter what, you and Mia will always be friends. Promise? Promise. Serena kissed her daughter's forehead and turned out the light, stood in the doorway for a moment, watching Ava drift off to sleep. She thought about everything that had happened, about the mistakes she'd made, about the lessons she'd learned, about how easy it was to judge people without knowing their stories, about how hard it was to change, but how worth it that change could be. Her phone buzzed, a text from Caleb. You awake? Yeah, good day, really good day. Same here, thank you. For what? For giving this a chance, for not giving up on me when I was being stubborn. You did the same for me. Yeah, I guess we did. Serena smiled and set down her phone, walked to her window and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Caleb was doing the same thing, looking at the same city, thinking about the same strange, unlikely path that had brought them together. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but they were willing to find out, because that's what you did when you stopped being afraid, when you stopped controlling every outcome, when you trusted that sometimes the best things in life were the ones you couldn't plan for. You just showed up, you stayed open, you gave people a chance, and sometimes, if you were lucky, they gave you one too. The city hummed below, indifferent to their small human dramas. But inside 2 apartments across town, 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of a terrible day were learning something important. That you can't judge someone by a single moment. That everyone carries stories you can't see. That grace, the kind you give and the kind you receive, is what makes us human. And that sometimes the people you think you have nothing in common with turn out to be exactly who you need. Caleb Rowe never got his old job back. He got something better, a purpose, a partnership, and proof that it's never too late to start over. Serena Blake never got to undo firing him, but she got something more valuable, a lesson in humility, humanity, and the understanding that leadership isn't about control. It's about seeing people, really seeing them. And 2 little girls who'd been through something scary together got what they needed most, a friendship built on truth, and families learning to be better. Not perfect, never perfect, just better. And sometimes that's enough.